last cold open was really great. I'm talking about St. Pauli girl.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I couldn't find that in town here either. That's why I was late.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, wait, look at that. Wait, just look at her. Apparently that was the winning line.
I got all sorts of drinks here today.
Oh, dude, I'm saying. Okay, so we got our Jack, we got our Stoli. Shit, I gotta tighten that up. Okay, so
Try this.
get a drink of the Duff here. You can hit that whenever.
Woo!
Let's get our cold opening whenever you want.
Yeah.
But oh yes, the Motorhead lock. Jeez, God. Yeah, I think we'll be good and fortified here.
Well, in true form to this band, we'll be
Well, of course.
feeling pretty good.
Why does this keep moving on me though? Yeah, whatever. But yeah, so all right. Okay, we're good and fortified. Give me a couple of 1-2s or whatever, because
1-2, 1-2.
all right, yeah, you're good. Maybe up me just a hair.
Just level wise like this.
Oh yeah, that's
Okay.
Yeah, you're great. I can hear myself, so I ain't worried about me. But all right, so you have Jack or Stoli. Well, I'll count in whenever you give the go ahead.
All right, go ahead.
All right, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up, everybody?
What's everybody?
What's up, everybody?
And we're off to a fine
We're
start.
off to a fine start.
All right.
Chadwick von Slurwick.
And for this installment, Joshua Mr. Brownstone Lee Johnson.
Yeah. If you can't tell already, we're going to start talking about Guns N' Roses.
Guns and fucking Roses.
Right after we have this shot of Jack Daniels.
All right. Cheers. Let's get fortified. Delicious.
I'll put hair on your balls.
Oh, God. It tastes like throwing up when I was 17. Or 16 even. But yeah, for this installment is fueled by Jack Daniels, Stoli vodka, cranberry juice, which was Duff McKagan's favorite drink, the vodka cranberry. From here on out, we're referring to as the Duff. And thanks to our good friend Sarah, Motorhead Road Crew Ale Asylum American Pale Ale. I'd say we're good to go.
I say so.
All right, so yes, the topic of this installment is Guns N' Roses, and did you have any bullet points you wanted to hit? Because I have several for this one.
I knew you would have several. I don't know. I just I was like, hey, I should just listen to this and not really give a shit.
I like the way you think.
But I did print off a whole bunch of notes in case I need to refer to an actual fact.
Okay, right on. And speaking of notes, notes need taking. Taking notes.
See, I was like, should I just listen to all their records? And I didn't.
Okay.
I mean, how many more times do I need to listen to Appetite for Destruction?
Well,
I mean, it's good. Don't get me wrong. It's probably their best. But
sure.
I listened to Lies at least once.
Yeah, I couldn't find my copy of Lies, and it occurred to me, I think I gave it to my stepson.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of regretting it because one of the things they did was when they reissued Appetite and Lies, they took off one of the key songs. That would be One in a Million.
Oh, that was on my copy.
Yep.
I listened to it on Amazon Music. Plug in Amazon, you motherfuckers. Anyway, so it was on that. It was on that.
Okay, so it is still available.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, we can touch on that in a bit. But
Sure.
So let's get started with let's go old school for us. Chad, what was your introduction to Guns N' Roses? Because I've definitely got mine.
Man, I don't know. Well, I definitely know I knew about them before Terminator 2. Because, they had the song on the music video,
Right,
fucking
You Can Be
Arnold.
Mine.
Yeah, which is a badass song.
It was originally supposed to be on Appetite.
That's probably why it's so badass.
Right.
But so I know it's before 92 for me.
Okay.
So it's got to be sometime in the late 80s, and I'm pretty sure it was like it was either a cassette tape or a vinyl of my mom or uncle, and I remember just staring at those liner notes and that fucking robot thing, which scared the shit out of me.
Oh yeah, the original cover.
Yeah.
Which is what the album was named after. I believe Robert Williams was the one that.
But you know, like
painted that.
MTV and my mom or uncle or something is
Sure.
probably where yeah, I think so. Something like that. Definitely late 80s.
Okay, and that's the interesting thing about Guns N' Roses, especially for people like in our age group or whatever who were kids in the 80s. My introduction to them, I could pretty well point to a singular event, and it, of course, revolves around my father. There was one Saturday night where him and his band at the time were over at the house practicing, and they decided that they needed some beverages. So they went on, well, let's face it, a liquor run. And I can remember being for some inconceivable reason, my father took me with him and his bandmates. And I can distinctly remember hearing the song that I would later find out was It's So Easy. And I just remember the song sounding very aggressive and simple, and the singer singing in this low voice. And I can also remember the word fuck, and that being the first time I ever heard that in a song. I could still remember it, and it was so ironic looking back on it now that one of the lyrics is I drink and drive, everything's in sight and all this, and that's what I would imagine my old man was up to at the time. So that was my introduction to the band Guns N' Roses. But they were so massive at that point, it's like they were just there. Everybody knew who Guns N' Roses was, but that was my introduction, was that song, It's So Easy. And just Axl singing in that deep voice, and I even remember as a kid hearing the line, I drink and drive, in that song. I mean, they just were unapologetic about so much. So that was my introduction. Now, where we're going to go with this podcast, for me, I gotta tell you, Chad, this is the topic I've been stoked about doing since we started this whole thing. I have wanted to talk Guns N' Roses. Just because that band to me, I suppose everybody that's into music, has been in a band or whatever, can say, what's the album that changed your life? What's the album that started you? What's the album that was, the turning point? And for me, there are so many albums. I could point to an album that introduced me to punk, which Guns N' Roses is going to be that band. There was the album that really was the spark, and that was Van Halen 2. But the album that would be a life changer was Appetite. Just because musically it was so aggressive, and lyrically it was so unapologetic. But, for me, image-wise, here were these guys that they looked dirty, but they looked cool. And the singer's wearing a headband, which, my father wore headbands. They just looked like rock and roll to me. They always had a drink in their hand, a cigarette in their mouth. They looked rock and roll, and that's really this is what I want to be. Not what I want to listen to, not what I'm entertained by, what I want to be. And it was absolutely that album. So do we dive in straight into Appetite then? Or has it just been said to death?
I don't know. What more can be said about it?
Well,
I mean, it's good. It's really good.
Sure.
I think it's their best record.
It by far is.
I think it sums them up, who they are, what they sound like. That's just like the be-all, end-all is Appetite. Right,
and that's where I think this podcast is going to go, is like when you talk about the band Guns N' Roses.
So like even what is Lies is a live
yes.
Was a live record, right? Was it live or was it fake live?
It was fake. As
Yeah.
far as it was not performed in front of a crowd. What they did was they went in the studio, cut 4 tracks, and then put, if I'm not mistaken, crowd noises from a bullfight. Or possibly, maybe it was Frampton Comes Alive. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so it was like fake live.
Absolutely.
But it was like every song. Axl's like, this song's about fucking your mother.
It's about your fucking mother.
Or whatever.
Not about fucking your mother. No. And then
or he fucked your mother, or it was just
this is a song about your fucking mother.
It was like all the attitude was.
Yeah.
It was probably like a record company ploy.
Well, it was a stopgap.
You gotta check this band out. They're so edgy.
Well, it was a stopgap, was what it was.
I mean, they certainly did have attitude, and that's.
Oh yeah.
They're like a Rolling Stones with a punk rock attitude.
Sure. Well, absolutely, and that's where you get into what created Guns N' Roses. 5 very disparate personalities all rolled into the same band. I mean, you could identify every one of them. You had Slash, who was the Aerosmith rock and roll guy, and still is. You had Duff, who came from the punk scene in Seattle. You had Izzy, who just, as far as he was concerned, the world began and ended with Keith Richards and Johnny Thunders. And then you had Steven Adler, who was just a perfect late 70s teenager, party all the time kind of guy.
So I heard they took his double bass pedal away.
Yes and no. That's a very interesting story, and you get a couple different versions of it. And they're both in, Slash's book and then Steven Adler's book. According to Slash, him and Duff, or him and Izzy, I don't know, somebody, Steven left the room to do something, and they, on the slide, grabbed his second bass drum and hid it, and grabbed his rack of toms and hid them, and then he came back and said, "Where'd my drums going?" Izzy said, "Don't worry about it," and then they played. Now, if you ask Steven Adler, he's the one that came up with the idea of, I'm sick of playing all of this stuff, I just need a 4-piece and that's it. So it depends on who you choose to believe, really.
Well, I think I'll believe the Slash version, because those guys were just, always fucking around, and
and that's where
I find that a lot more believable.
In that respect, I think I do as well. And that's where, when we're going to dive into Adler and his version of events versus Slash's version, or Axl's version. One of the places I wanted to go with this is, did Adler get a raw deal when he was fired? What's your opinion?
I don't think so. He probably earned everything he got.
Okay.
Because I know you want to talk about the Farm Aid thing.
Absolutely.
So,
we don't even have to be linear with this. We can jump right to that if you want.
Yeah, that's fine.
I would love to.
So how's the lore go? So they played 2 songs, right?
Yep, Down on the Farm and Civil War.
Okay, so allegedly he didn't practice those songs with the band.
Okay.
Or had never heard them before, or something to that effect, right? Does that sound about right?
It is, but it depends on who you believe, and quite frankly, you could believe everybody, because Adler and Slash both have the same story. Adler had never heard the song Down on the Farm before.
Right.
Now Adler.
So that's evident if you watch the footage.
Oh sure.
Because every time Duff is facing the drum kit, he's helping him play the song.
Him. Yeah, and Adler has admitted that.
Yeah.
But I guess for my part, Adler, when you read his biography or his autobiography.
So for those who don't know, this Live Aid, Farm Aid, whatever performance was like the last. It was the last straw of kicking him out of the band.
And fun.
And maybe they set him up for failure, but it's probably because he fucked up one too many times.
Sure.
And then just because he managed to pull this one thing off doesn't mean, we're going to keep you in the band. If you notice at the beginning of that performance, he stumbles and falls into his drum set because he's fucked up.
Yes and no. I mean, that's... Adler in his book never admits to what Slash accused him of, that he was probably doing blow in his hotel room the whole time beforehand. And he probably was. If you watch his jaw, you can see that there's a dope jaw there. He's grinding.
Yep.
Which is a telltale sign. But
well, I mean, come on. The dude jumped, stumbled, and fell into his drum kit.
Now Adler's side of it was there was a cable there he didn't see. And if you watch him, I could believe that.
Yeah.
But I could also believe that, he was fucked up. But the Farm Aid thing, when you talk about what a life-changing band Guns N' Roses was, they unwittingly were like milestones in 2 very big events in my life. The first one was the American Music Awards. They are responsible for the 5-second delay in recording now. And they're responsible for that is because Duff and Slash went up to accept an award they won and were cursing the whole time. I can remember I would have been 10 years old living in the house that my family lived in a town called Crystal Lake a few months before we moved to the house that I grew up in Kanawha. We sat around, my whole family did, watching the American Music Awards. And I can distinctly remember when Guns N' Roses won, you could see Duff and Slash stumbling. And I remember my dad, I can remember hearing him say, well, where's the fearless leader Axl Rose? And then answering his own question. Oh, probably too drunk to stand up. But I remember watching this, and the first thing I remember hearing, God, I think it was Slash say, yeah, we're just hanging out and shit. And I'm like, you don't hear that on TV. And then Duff hammered off his ass saying, have a drink on us. And then they won an award again, and Slash dropped the F-bomb. And, we got to thank fucking whoops. They were responsible for the 5-second delay that we all are familiar with now when it comes to live tapings. You don't get a live taping because of Guns N' Roses. Yeah, I got to watch that happen. I remember that happening. And then the Farm Aid thing was a few months later. We had moved to the house in Kanawha and had the TV all set up. It was our first day there, our first night there. And I sat and watched Farm Aid. And I remember Guns N' Roses playing. That was a huge deal because Farm Aid was Willie Nelson. It was John Mellencamp. It was Neil Young. Guns N' Roses? So, yeah, that was huge that they played Farm Aid. But I distinctly remember watching that. And there's Slash with so much hair you can't see his face. And Axl in the leather jacket and the sunglasses, the cowboy hat. And I remember my father's only thought was, God, he's got to be hot on that stage. But I just remember thinking at the age of 10, that is a fucking rock star. Holy shit, I want to be him. So yeah, those two events, I watched them in real time as they were broadcast. But yeah, the Farm Aid performance, let's go to that.
I mean, it's not terrible.
I think it's great.
I think it's far from great, but it's not terrible.
Okay.
It just shows what good musicians they were.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little sloppy, but you're a rock and roll band, and that's okay.
Yep. And if you had never heard the song Down on the Farm, you wouldn't know that.
Right.
For Adler having never heard that song before, and that's an established fact that he had never heard it before.
I don't want to take anything away from his music credibility.
Sure.
But it's a simple 4/4 punk song.
Yep.
I mean, he threw the punk shuffle on it.
Yeah, and
it was just like in Back to the Future.
Yes.
Where he's like, okay, it's blues and B.
riff and B,
Watch me for the changes. Like, it's literally like that
Yep.
sometimes when you play music. And that's what that song was.
And that to me, I guess, you being the musician of the two of us, I can hear if something's wrong, and I still go back and watch it.
It's not that anything was wrong. I mean, like I said, it was sloppy.
Right. I didn't even think it was that sloppy.
It's
though.
not that sloppy, but it's still, it's like, okay, you guys probably didn't practice. You just kind of showed up. Obviously, you guys are under the influence of something.
Clearly.
All of them.
Yeah, well, everyone but Axl.
That's what I've always wondered about that guy is like just how much of him was fucked up compared to everybody else.
Not much of it.
And I'd like to think that's how he managed to get away with so much of the band.
And that's exactly how Axl was not clean by any stretch.
Yeah, but he wasn't like, I'm sure he did some heroin.
He did
he probably snorted some coke and stuff, but
he definitely did.
I don't think he was near into it like everybody else was.
No, he had control. I mean, any of the Axl insanity you hear about was Axl. But yeah, as far as chemicals or alcohol, he knew how to play the image, or the image played him, really, if you think about it. But no, it's been well known at this point that Axl was very much in control of his faculties. Even when they lived in one of their rental properties recording Appetite and they just collectively destroyed the place, there was one room in that house that was padlocked, and it was Axl's. And it was like immaculate in there. It was his sanctuary.
Yeah, because even I don't know which tour or which sort of date, but he would he'd slam other members of the band. He's like, some of us don't know how to get rid of
No,
Mr. Brownstone.
That was when they opened for the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
And Slash, by his own...
Certain band members didn't stop dancing with Mr. Brownstone.
Yeah, he was... And that's where Axl didn't have control, though. To where he wanted control of everybody in his band to where they could do their job and not be all fucked up. But at the same time, he couldn't control his anger to the point where he, in front of a sold-out crowd, just talking about, I'm quitting this band if my other bandmates don't stop doing heroin. And Slash, for his part, who isn't rattled by much of anything, even he has said that was something I never forgave him for.
I think that's how he kind of squandered the rights of the band away from the other members.
That would happen years later.
I know it would happen years later, but it was during one of his little tantrums.
Well, essentially...
It sounds like, according to Slash.
Right, and Slash's side of it is he's admitted that because they let things go on for too long, so many little things, that by the time this big thing happened, they were also collectively exhausted and just wanted to be able to keep the money machine rolling, if you will, that they said, fuck it. All right. But that goes to show just how out of control it had gotten to where if you read Slash's autobiography, he talks about how the day before he called their manager and said, I quit, he sat the whole day, and the one thing that kind of scared him away from putting up with it any longer was he was debating on getting a lethal dose of heroin, injecting it, and just offing himself to be done with it. Slash is not a suicidal person. So for him to have hit the end of his rope to that much of a degree tells you how bad it really was.
Well, Izzy also. Izzy didn't do drugs as long as everybody else.
No, but when he did them, he did them, but when it was time to stop, he stopped.
Right.
And that's the whole thing, is he cleaned up.
Probably smart on his part, because he really hasn't played with them much since.
No, he'll do a guest shot here or there.
Yeah, or like 7 or 8 dates or something like that.
And that's where, when the Not in This Lifetime tour came about, of course, the big question was, where's Izzy? Where's Izzy? And it comes out later that it's not that he needs the money. None of those original 5 need money. But he was, and I could be wrong, but basically was offered a salaried position. And he said, no, I'm one of the 5. You're not going to treat me like an employee. And they wouldn't bend, so he said, fuck it, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing about Izzy, and that's why everyone seems to hold him in such an almost godlike regard, is that he's never done anything he didn't want to do. Ever. So let's go way backwards here and get into Guns N' Roses themselves and what really made them the band that was so apart from everybody else. Because, I mean, if you think about the late 80s, and now keep in mind, Appetite didn't set the world on fire when it was released. It took a year for it to get up to number 1. But at that point in time...
Yeah, it did. A year.
Yep.
Billboard 200.
That's right. But at that point in time, the word danger is always associated with Guns N' Roses.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
Appetite has sold 30 million copies worldwide.
Yep. Yeah, that's how big that album is. And we'll definitely get into that very shortly. You know, the question I want to ask is it a perfect album? And I'll say no. And I have my reasons for that, but you get into...
Well, you know, it might not be a perfect album, but it's one of the few where I can listen to it front to back.
See, I gotta
like,
say,
I don't have a skippable song on that record.
I do. I have a couple of them.
I mean, if you want to be like, oh, Welcome to the Jungle, maybe.
I don't ever skip Welcome to the Jungle. That song still, to this day, gives me the goosebumps it gave me when I first heard it.
Right.
That's what a tremendous song it is. But insofar as, well, going back to why did it make the impact it did when it did? I mean, Slash, even, in his own laid-back, disassociated way, says, it was the perfect album at the perfect time. And that's fucking great. He's right, though. Because if you think about it, okay, Danger. Once again, going back to Danger. All right, so you had bands like Motley Crue, who we talked about last year. It was known that they were drinking, fighting, fucking, getting high and all this. But lyrically, it never really just came out and said it. Nicki knew how to write songs about heroin without saying, I'm on smack. You know, they knew how to write songs about I'm banging this bitch, you know, but not say I'm banging this bitch.
Oh, you're right. So it's like Guns N' Roses is like reading the real version of like a true crime or something.
Yes.
Where it's like, yeah, these are the real dirt bags. This is the real dirty stuff. Whereas you got Motley Crue or Poison or whatever fucking glam band where it's like we're singing about it but in a fictional way.
Yes, it's a disassociation. We're singing about a character.
Right.
You know, I mean, Nicky Sixx for his part never wrote a lyric like I drink and drive. That's just coming right out and saying it. You're not even apologizing. I'm drinking and driving. Fuck you. You know, or why don't you just fuck off? Vince Neil never sang anything like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's why I like Guns N' Roses. They have that attitude.
Why so many people did. I mean, they were, when you say like the real deal,
yeah,
that's such an overused term, but they were the real deal. In fact, fun thing that I just figured out today reading liner notes. If you look at Appetite, there's side 1 and 2, or side G and side R. The Guns side is by their own admission where they discussed drinking, drugs, life in the city, or whatever. And the R side was all about love, sex, and women. I never clocked that till today, but it's the truth.
All right, yeah.
You know, side 1 is bookended with Welcome to the Jungle and Paradise City. In between you have It's So Easy, I Drink and Drive, Out to Get Me, fucking Mr. Brownstone, Smack. But on the R side, it's bookended by My Michelle, which is all about a chick, and ends with Rocket Queen, all about a chick. And in between there's a song called Sweet Child of Mine. And Sweet Child of Mine is why Guns N' Roses went from being a big rock band to being a massive band. It's the one ballad every fucking buddy knows, and there's literally nothing offensive about it. Nothing.
Yeah, I don't know, it floats on the line of being a ballad.
I consider it an absolute ballad.
I don't know. It just, I think it kicks too much ass to be a ballad. But
and that's the magic of Guns N' Roses. Even their ballad kicked your ass.
Yeah, I mean, because it didn't stay all pretty, you know. Like I was like, oh, clean chord, like single chord kind of thing.
There was enough distortion in there,
and then they kicked in with the chorus, you know.
Enough of Axl's.
Yeah, like okay.
It was a perfect song. In that it could take all of the elements that make everything work. You know, the badass guy hanging out in front of the fucking gas station can hear Sweet Child of Mine and kind of pause for a second. You know, or the 14-year-old girl who's got a crush on the boy in her class can hear Sweet Child of Mine and relate to it. It's perfect. So that's when they went from being a band to being a phenomenon.
So what's your skippable song?
Okay. I don't know if I want to say skippable, but songs that I think
because you said
fit in.
I think I can just front to back. I have plenty of times.
Sure, as have I.
And a song doesn't start where I go, ugh.
There's 2 songs. I won't say skippable, but to me just don't work for some reason. The first one is Think About You, which is a great song. I'm not saying even for a second it's a bad song, but it is an outlier in that album. In that song was an Izzy song. That song could have been on a Johnny Thunders album. It's very much in that vein. And for whatever reason, there's not enough of the slash aggression mixture in it to make it not just stand out like a sore thumb.
I always felt like it was more of an Axl song.
That's an Izzy song. Izzy.
You think maybe musically?
No, lyrically too.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's been well documented that that's an Izzy tune, and that would have been great on one of Izzy's solo albums. For whatever reason, like I said, not a bad song, but it was always the one that kind of like, this doesn't fit with the rest of this. And then the other one that I don't want to say is skippable either, but it's cringe-inducing, is the song Anything Goes. Now, musically, it is so sleazy. It's sleaze perfection, but lyrically, it's embarrassing to even listen to. when your first line is, I've been thinking about sex, you're not even trying. But then there's one line that bothers me. One line. Panties around your knees. God, I get creeped out hearing a grown man use the word panties in a song. It's just fucking weird to me.
Is that your version of moist?
Yes. No, I don't mind the word.
Panties.
I don't mind the word panties. I love the concept of them. They're sexy on the right woman. Hell yes. But it's just gross when you hear a grown man like Chad Kroger, pretty little thing in the pretty pink thong. Hey, I love pink thongs, but no, it's gross when you're singing it. And that's why that line, I mean, honestly, they could take out that one line. And the song itself probably wouldn't bother me, but it's just, panties around your knees. Oh! I just get ew when I hear that line. I don't know why, but I damn well fucking do.
That's great.
It just, ugh. And it's always been like that, you know? Fucking, yeah, panties, right? Quick, don't. Fred Durst sang about sniffing panties, okay? That word is wrong. And you're right. That is moist. That is the word.
That's your moist.
It very much is. If I hear the word panties, I don't know, something just hits me the wrong way.
Calm down, Karen.
Karen? All right, fine. I got that out of my system. But no, those are the two songs that, to me, don't make it a perfect album. And that's where I hate them.
Hey, that's fine. That's a real small grievance, I think.
It's an incredibly small grievance.
And it's mostly your personal feelings about it.
And that's why I hate the idea of a perfect album. Everybody has a different version of that.
Yeah. So
if I have a perfect album, it's Judas Priest, British Steel.
Okay.
Because I don't skip any song on it.
Here's another one of mine, and I know plenty of people will disagree. I think the Black Album is a good front to back album.
And you know what? I personally disagree for one reason. My Friend of Misery.
I think that's a cool song.
No, it's a great song. It's so meandering.
Maybe.
And that's also the unfortunate thing about the Black Album that could also be applied to Appetite. If I never heard that album again, I wouldn't be unhappy. Because it's been overplayed. Same with the Black Album. Great hard rock album. I don't want to hear a single fucking song off it ever again.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. That's a fair statement.
Right.
I mean, they both have their place in the metal world.
Sure.
That's fine. And I think it's because we're old and we've heard every rotation of that.
Yep.
You know?
And that's one thing I do love about I just will betray my age. I mean, we're old, but having kids, I mean, my stepson, it is so awesome watching him get into the shit that I got into 20 years ago, in that you almost kind of have to like keep yourself from going, yeah, I know I've heard it before. I kind of get lost in that magic to where the two bands that he keeps diving into are Guns N' Roses and Metallica, especially Metallica. He's my little way of remembering what I was like at 13 and just getting into all this stuff and just being obsessed with it, really. You couldn't have me shut off Appetite at the time.
Yeah. I almost bought it on vinyl this week.
I bought another copy of it last week. Why?
I have a CD copy that was really the Uzi Records one, not the Geffen.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd kind of like to see that.
If I can find it, I'd show you. I'm sure I've got it somewhere in my CD collection.
Right. Well, and that's where, I bought that other copy of Appetite last week.
Come to think of it, it might be one of those dual releases where it's like Uzi Records, Geffen, or something.
I would love to see
But
that.
yeah, it has the Uzi label on the back.
But yeah, the reason why I bought that album for the how manyth time, I think I've had that album on cassette, on CD, vinyl part 1, and then this last one. And I bought it so that I could give my stepson my original vinyl copy of Appetite.
Right.
It's kind of cool to do that. The gift that keeps on giving, And Guns N' Roses is one of those bands that, people are going to keep passing this band down. And that's just testament to how massive they were. But the question I'd like to ask, if we're going to really go down the rabbit hole here, which of course we are, is...
Well, before you get there, speaking of vinyl,
Sure.
I got some vinyl this month.
Okay, but I want to present this one question.
Oh, sure. Go ahead. Go ahead.
The question is Guns N' Roses massive because of one album? And then we'll go back. All right, so what'd you get for vinyl then?
Your question just threw me off there for a second.
Yeah, I'll remember it.
So,
I think you sent me a list of some of the stuff you bought.
So I got Gore,
Right.
Scumdogs of the Universe 30th anniversary, because I like Gore, and I don't care what anybody says.
Hey, I like Sleep, and I'll never give a damn what anyone says.
So, and then I got Rockarola, Judas Priest Rockarola.
I want to talk about Rockarola for a second.
Sure.
When you told me that, and you sent me the description of it, with the splatter vinyl or whatever the hell it was.
It's purple.
Purple. I actually remembered that I have a copy of the original Rockarola.
With the bottle cap.
With the bottle cap.
I think I do also.
Okay.
Possibly. I don't know. I can't keep track of all the records I have.
And I know damn well that one of my parents, whichever the one it was, mom or dad, got it from the cutout bin because there's a little cutout in the fucking packaging, which means I can never put it on eBay and don't really want to. But I found it funny that you bought Rockarola because I remember seeing this album in my dad's collection, and obviously I got it many years later. I listened to it, I think, once, and it's like, this is so not a Judas Priest album.
Yeah, it's very pre-Judas Priest.
Right.
What people know as Judas Priest.
Yep.
So it's like fucking Rob Halford, long blonde hair, Judas Priest.
Playing a harmonica.
Yeah, like they're Skinnered or something.
Yeah, one of the title track to that album was a point of hilarity with a guy who years later would wind up being my brother-in-law. I used to love going over to his place, me, him, and his ex-wife. We would always watch old school videos and shit. And at one point, I'm like, dude, you gotta find some old Judas Priest. And we were watching footage of them from the old Gray Whistle Test from like 74. They're all wearing flowery shirts and everything else. They're not looking like
bell bottoms and shit. Not like leather bell, like fucking velvet bell bottoms.
Yes. Yeah, like full on hippie regalia. But I remember there was one line in that song that, and of course it was so much of what they wouldn't sing about years later, but they were singing about some hard partying chick, rock-a-roll woman for a rock-a-rolling man and all this. But there was one line that says, she's a fighter, 10 pints a nighter. In other words, she drinks 10 pints of lager, I would imagine, every night. And I remember, God, I miss when the internet couldn't correct everything that you think wrong. Because I remember hearing that line and thinking...
Oh, misheard lyrics.
Thinking that he's saying she's a fighter, tampon igniter. And I thought that for years until I could Google, but yeah, tampon igniter. I thought, this bitch is so hot, she sets her tampons on fire. I still think that's a genius line that needs to be used. Yeah. But yeah, then I rewrite it later, 10 pint. Well, that's not as fun.
Yeah.
Tampon igniter.
What else did I get?
Hate me if you will.
So I got Rob Zombie's new one because, I'm a big John fan, so anything he plays on I think is cool.
I still say you are your delivery is so Rob Zombie that if you were ever on one of those I Love the 80s shows or whatever, I think I remember texting you one night. I'm like, dude, you're Rob Zombie. And you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, the way you talk. Watch Rob Zombie sometime. It's just like you.
Yeah.
Which is Rob Zombie being
It's not the first time I've been told that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, that's the whole thing is Rob Zombie, the super beast, scary guy on stage. He's just so matter of fact and fucking dry humor hilarious when he talks. It's you, dude. You're Rob Zombie. Not so much Brian Posehn or whatever.
Brian Posehn.
Although you fucking... Oh, God. Yeah, I was reminded of him when... One of the videos that he watched where he talked about half slash.
Yeah, those like the worst metal videos or whatever he was watching.
I believe the band was Wally World. And there's this guy with the top hat on in the curlier. Hey, it's half slash.
Yeah.
Get it, half slash. And it's like, I could see Chad doing that.
Yeah. I probably would have said something like that.
Okay, but back to your vinyl list.
Yeah. Okay. Those. I got Sleep Holy Mountain.
Yes. How's that sound on vinyl as opposed to?
I haven't.
You haven't played.
Haven't even played them yet.
Chad.
I still have to set up my turntable
Set
and
it
speakers.
up.
I got a new to me receiver and
Okay.
speakers.
Right on.
I think this is going on a year or longer now.
Pretty sure we talked about this a month ago.
We did. And it's slow going for me because I got to have it in the right spot, and I don't have the right spot.
Or maybe because you have priorities like, work,
A job,
kid,
and a
else.
child.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm getting there as soon as I can make. I have it in my basement. That's my personal space.
Goddamn right.
So I want to have it in the right spot. I haven't done it yet.
Well, I tell you what, since we're now on record, you need to just bring the vinyl over to my place and
Just
really
Yes. bring the vinyl to
Hell,
bring
just
the mountain to Muhammad.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
So
But yeah, follow the smoke or not. But yeah, fucking bring some vinyl over. Play it
Yeah.
on my stereo. Oh yeah.
So I got Holy Mountain. I think it's the first re-release on vinyl.
Of the Sleep's first album.
No, of Holy Mountain. I think they
Oh.
they think they re-released it in like 2012 or 11 or something.
Which would have been the same year as Dope Smoker.
Right. So
Okay.
it's like it's a earlier pressing. I can't remember what color it is.
I got you. Probably purple.
It probably is purple.
I don't know why I think purple. But
I
purple.
think you're right. I didn't. Oh no, I think it's hashish.
Oh, God
Hashish
Christ.
brown.
I love those guys, but Jesus.
Oh, they
God,
had
there's a point.
so many that were. No, that was my Dope Smoker was brown.
Yep. Yeah, because mine's green.
Because there's like it was like 500 copies of like the Hashishian brown, and it's marketing genius.
You know what? And this is all they've got anymore. Not They Sleep, but all anybody has. You better figure out a way to market something.
Oh, they got me because I love colored vinyl.
What? Who doesn't? I mean, come on. I have Typo Negative Dead Again in red.
Hey, did you know they're gonna re-release that?
Dead Again?
Or is it
Again?
No. What was their last one?
Dead Again.
Yeah, I think they're gonna redo that one.
And that's cool. You know what? I totally fell for the marketing packaging when I got that for Christmas. Had to have been 2009, maybe 2008. 2008. Yeah. One of the gifts I requested was the Dead Again vinyl box set, which had the 2 red Dead Again albums and then some black one that had, I think, some live tracks. But it came with a shirt, damn it.
Yeah, that's cool.
A Typo Negative shirt I've never worn.
Yeah, I like records. I like the physicalness.
That's all I buy anymore, Chad. Is
Well,
vinyl.
I listen to a lot of digital music, but I also buy a lot of physical music.
Well, sure.
Did I tell you I got L7 Smell the Magic anniversary?
You did not tell me that.
Yeah, I got that one on vinyl. It's blue.
Well, you got to bring that over too.
Yeah, I'm so weird. Like sometimes I just want to keep it in the package.
And what's weird about that? There's not. It's weird, but it's not uncommon.
Yeah, but I should
what I
also
should
listen
say.
to it.
Yes and no. I mean, this is what I would do in a situation like that, which I don't know what that makes me, but yeah, if I were you and bought a copy of Smell the Magic, you're aware of L7, you know about them, but it wouldn't break your heart if you were to go on YouTube and play the album to know what it sounds like.
Right.
And that's pretty much how I would be too.
Yeah. Mainly it's because I don't have my stuff set up.
Right.
That I buy a bunch of records and then they sit there and I need to get off my ass and get my turntable set up.
Right. And that's where, you got physical music too. Yeah, today I was looking through my CDs, which, God, have I pared that collection down and down and down.
Yeah.
But I was looking for GNR Lies, actually. Looking in the shelf or whatever, and I asked my wife, said, hey, those Guns N' Roses CDs, are they still in your car? I don't know, maybe. When they're looking, nothing's in there, and then that's when it occurred to me. It was probably 3 years ago that my stepson was really getting into Guns N' Roses, and I just gathered up all of my CDs. I had everything they released, said, here, take these. Well, why? Well, I don't need them anymore. You're getting more enjoyment than I am out of it. But yeah, the one time I wanted to find my copy of GNR Lies, I'm like, shit. I don't have it. I gave it away, and I gave it away for a good reason. and there's no way in hell I can ask for it back.
Can I borrow that?
Dude,
That's,
I've had to do that. I gave
So,
him just real.
once again, to plug Amazon,
Okay, go ahead.
I have that Amazon Music subscription for like
Okay.
$10, and dude, like every time we talk about a band, I had there first to listen to them.
Yep.
It is so easy and convenient.
And it is. But yeah, the whole thing about giving away stuff you may want later. God, I actually texted my stepson last weekend because it was probably a good 4 or 5 years ago that I gave him a couple of my old Rush baseball jersey shirts. I thought, your kid's a Rush fan. Here, happy birthday, you can have these. I actually messaged him last week. I'm like, do you still have those shirts I gave you? Because if you do, I'd like to buy them back. Yeah, things like that, So it's like, that doesn't count as like Indian giving or whatever the hell. Business proposition.
Sort of. But anyway.
But no, I wasn't like, hey, give those back. It was more, hey, because he doesn't fit them anymore. The kid's 6'3",
Yeah, he grew up.
Damn right he did, and I didn't. So I'm just like, since they're not really doing anything, maybe I can buy them back from you. Yeah, I haven't heard back on that one, and that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So let's see, more vinyl. I got The Sciences, The Gatefold.
Yes. So you got to see the breakfast.
Yeah, the breakfast, which is just fucking brilliant. It's green vinyl, by the way. Yours is probably green also.
No, mine's black.
Really? Oh.
Yep. Didn't get the green.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
I can't remember how
How's this Motorhead beer, by
it's
the way?
okay. So, real quick on this Motorhead beer, it is very much an American pale ale.
See, I've never really drank American ale so much as lager.
It's got a little bit of that citrusy IPA.
Yeah, that's like...
It's not like real heavy citrus, but it's there. It's cool because it's got the lyrics to "We Are the Road Crew," and that's one of the coolest Motorhead songs.
So they do.
So that's pretty cool.
I just love this life I lead. Another beer is what I need. Another gig and my ears bleed. We are the road crew. All right. We are the road crew.
Yeah, so it's an okay beer.
Right.
Like this is probably all I'm going to drink of it. I probably wouldn't buy it again. Thank you, Sarah, but I probably wouldn't buy it.
Sarah.
Any other viewers want to hook us up with viewers?
The they're viewing it. They're
They're
staring.
whatever. However you're consuming us.
Listeners, well-wishers.
Fans? Do we have fans?
Yeah, we got a couple of fans. Janice, who I talk about incessantly. She's a fan. She looks forward to it. Both my brothers, Brandon and Dan, they're fans. Yeah, so friends and family. Do we have anybody beyond that?
I don't know. If we do, they haven't reached out and said hello. I get a little like on our hosting service is Podbean, whatever.
Right.
So like I'll get it'll tell me who like in the country, like how many hits.
Yeah,
it'll be like 3 or 4 people in like fucking Rhode Island are listening to us. It's like
Rhode Island.
Yeah, it's like crazy.
Please tell me you're not just like throwing that out.
I am just throwing that out as an
Damn
example.
it. I wanted the poor people.
Some of the cooler ones is there's someone in South Korea that listens.
Excellent.
There's someone in Ireland.
Ireland, nice.
That's pretty cool. And like a couple of UK hits every once in a while.
That is pretty cool. And speaking of like unexpected people, got to tell the Coven story real quick.
Oh yeah, by all means. Before you do,
Yeah.
last record I got.
Oh yeah.
I signed up for that record.
Yep.
I can't even remember what it's called, but it's like the old get the CD in the mail.
Yes.
Record,
Columbia House.
Columbia House, but it's records, and I thought I was gonna have to bitch to them because it's been 2 months and I haven't got my first one yet.
No.
Well, I finally got it, and it's Stormtroopers of Death, 30th anniversary,
Speaking of should die.
and it's awesome.
Okay.
Because I also have what's the other one? Speak of the Devil.
It's something of the Bigger Than the Devil.
Bigger Than the Devil. I have the original Bigger Than the Devil.
Do you?
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's really sweet, the 30th anniversary copy.
Okay.
So that was my vinyl. I bought like fucking $200 worth of vinyl. Hey,
Chump change, man.
whatever.
I've blown that in vinyl shops.
I like my music.
Hell yes.
So anyway, yeah, your story. I'm sorry.
Oh, the cover.
Chad's fucking vinyl shop is done.
Wait, sorry, nothing. I deviated from that story for about 20 minutes.
That's fine.
But no, the Coven story was, as far as plugging different things and being, all right. Anyway, there's a burger joint in Chicago called Kuma's Corner. And what they are is like gourmet burgers, but they're all based on metal bands. Every burger they have is named after a metal band. They have a Cephalic Carnage burger, for Christ's sake. I wish I was making this up, but I'm not.
I have some Cephalic Carnage CDs, dude.
That's amazing, and I don't. But yeah, that's this. If that gives you, and that was the first name I could pick out. That should tell you what this burger joint is like.
Yeah.
I can't believe you've never heard of them.
I can't either. But...
Well, through the magic of Facebook, I'm posting tonight.
Oh, cool.
But yeah. So they have the Zeppelin burger, the Iron Maiden burger, and these burgers are so fucking involved. I don't even know how they're burgers.
Yeah. So what your description of them reminds me of Zombie Burger in Des Moines.
It's very much along those lines.
It's like a themed burger.
Yep. Oh, and this one is all for music geeks like us, metal.
Right.
But no, the one burger I want, and they also do seasonal things or burger of the month.
Yeah.
The one burger I want more than anything is, gee, imagine that, the Sleep Burger. Yeah, this thing. If we're gonna go down the food rabbit hole,
is it like the?
It's
is it like-
Thanksgiving on a bun.
No, is it like Cheech and Chong when they go to Amsterdam, and they're like fucking they're ordering like the soup and it has like the weed in it and stuff.
No, not quite.
Like it's garnished with a weed leaf.
Unfortunately, no. At least not that I know of. But no, the Sleep Burger, for all the foodies out there who might listen for 5 seconds. Hi, Nicole. Love you, dear. It's a turkey burger on, I want to say a pretzel bun with tempura fried stuffing. I don't know if you're familiar with tempura.
Yeah.
Tempura fried stuffing, cranberry sauce, and heavy turkey gravy. Sleep Burger, hell, it would put you to sleep.
Yeah.
But yeah, they only have it during November, Thanksgiving and all that.
Of course, it makes sense.
I think I'm going to try to contact them before wife and I go to Chicago for her High Rocks competition and see if they'll please just bring this back for a weekend. I'm coming from Iowa. Come on, help me out. But anyway, no, the Sleep Burger. They have a High on Fire burger, too.
I bet that's spicy.
It very much is. Pineapple, peppers, or whatever the hell. But no, back to the Coven thing. I think it was this month they had a burger of the month. It was the Coven burger, based on the late 60s, early 70s.
So this is a band that sort of slipped through my fingers. I'm aware of them. I've heard them. Like they're kind of a pre-Sabbathy band.
In some ways, yeah, they were more psychedelic leaning musically.
Yeah, but they were like
lyrical content.
Yeah, they were like pre-Sabbath evil.
Well, did you know that they had a bass player named Ozzy Osbourne?
I did.
Yep. They also had a song called Black Sabbath.
Right, and then they allegedly came up with the devil horns.
Yep, which I have done a little studying. Well, because you remember when you put that picture up of
yeah,
Geezer?
that's like that picture I put up, that's like the earliest known use of the horns other than what you shared, which was Coven.
Coven beat him to it.
Right, Coven beat him to it.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny because like
it's
now
hilarious.
that Dio has died, like
Yep.
Geezer's like, well, really, I came up with it, and it was a picture of Geezer throwing the horns up.
And actually before Coven even, if you look at the drawing of the cover of the Beatles album Yellow Submarine, John Lennon's cartoon is doing that.
That could
without the thumb out.
Without the thumb?
No, without the thumb out.
Oh.
No, he's doing the I-1 Cornudo.
Huh.
But yeah, so I, of course, made that comment. Well, Coven beat him to it. But anyway, so back to Kuma's Corner, the burger joint. Their burger of the month is the Coven burger, which, of course, has some form of goat in it or whatever the hell.
The goat cheese?
No, goat like
goat
marrow or meat or something.
Goat meat.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to dive back in and look that up. But anyway, so every now and then they'll have somebody from the band they named a burger after stop in. And Jinx happened to be the one. Jinx Dawson, who was the singer for Coven. Who, basically, the way to describe her is long, straight blonde hair, very voluptuous, a fucking damn good-looking woman who just happens to worship Satan. But anyway, so I'm flipping through my news feed, as you will, and Kuma's Corner comes up, and I see this blonde chick about ready to, with a burger in her hand. I'm like, that can't be. Because it's like, this woman did not age. It was really bizarre. So I saw the picture, and I thought, hey, it's the internet. I can make a comment. So I commented. The first thing I said was Black Swan, which is a Coven song that Tommy Bolin from Deep Purple, they say that's his last recorded work. It's a great song. Hell, my kid used to listen to it and do ballet routines to it. But anyway, Tommy Bolin played on that. But anyway, so the first thing I said was Black Swan. I said, Jinx certainly aged well. Looks like that pact with Satan paid off. Next day, I look, there's the whole reaction fucking thing. Love. As in, I love this remark. And then Jinx Dawson saying something to the effect of, thank you, that was very nice of you to say, or whatever the hell. But I went, okay, either her webmaster is really on top of things, or Jinx Dawson liked the remark I made. And that was pretty fucking cool. So, yeah. So, of course, I said, hey, you just made my day. By the way, check out this podcast that I'm in.
By the way, look at her podcast.
And so, yeah, if you see anything come up, Jinx Dawson, that's her. And I hope it happens.
Of course.
But, yeah, I'll send you the picture or whatever. Yeah, somehow Jinx Dawson from 1969 to 2021 really hasn't aged.
What's that? Heavy metal music, my man.
Well, I think it was the pact with Satan. Because she is still to this day is very into it. I've read several interviews with her, and yeah, she's the real deal.
So I got a cool story.
Sure.
I haven't told for like 4 months because I keep forgetting.
Keep forgetting. Sorry.
It's not really music related, but it is. So, even I play guitar. We've played music together for a long time.
And hopefully we will again.
And you know that I've never played with guitar pedals.
What?
You
never have?
No. I've always plugged straight into the amp and just fucking let her rip. So it is
fun facts you learn, and I never realized that.
Yeah, so it's not until recently where I really kind of dived into guitar pedals, so much so that I've built my own.
Right.
Like our good buddy Doug, his whole pedal board is like all of the pedals I built for him, except for like maybe 2.
Right.
So, but anyway, like I got into guitar pedals. I like them.
Sure.
I like the science behind them. So there is a brand called, let me see if I get it right because I've been drinking. KHDK.
Okay.
I think. So it's like Kirk Hammett and some other guy.
Oh wait, I just read about this soon. I can't remember who the other guy is, but
I think it's just some guy who builds pedals, like this guy named David.
Okay, I should say I know the story you're talking about.
You know this story?
No, not this story.
Oh, I was gonna say I don't think I've told this story yet.
No, the bedrock behind it though, Kirk Hammett and some other guy.
Yeah, so this their brand of pedal they kind of do like limited releases, and they've built some special ones for people.
Sure.
So they did a special pedal for Gary Holt.
Gary Exodus, all right.
And then,
which is kind of funny if you think about it.
Yeah, and they did a special pedal for Doyle.
As in Misfits?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they just did one for shit. Why can't I remember his name? He's in Behemoth.
Yeah.
The guitar player in Behemoth. They named the pedal Lucifer.
Of all the people in the world, the guy from Behemoth got to be the Lucifer guy.
Yeah, that's
good on him.
Well, whatever. But so anyway, like I buy guitar pedals every once in a while. So this company, this KHDK, they were like, hey, this was around Halloween, so they posted on Instagram, we have a mystery pedal. Mystery pedal, like, like, are you brave enough to buy this mystery pedal?
Oh my god.
And I was like, so I was being a smart ass on Instagram, and I was like, no, I don't need to fucking eat or nothing. So here's where it gets funny and kind of cool. Actually, really fucking cool.
Okay.
So they responded to me. And they responded with, "What if we buy you a pizza?"
Wait, you did tell this
Did
story.
I tell this to you?
But tell it again.
I told it to you, I think. I don't think I told it to everybody else.
I think you're probably right. All right, so go on.
So they were like, "What if we buy you a pizza?" And of course, like, what am I gonna do? Like, back out, and not buy their pedal, or buy their pedal.
Right.
So I was like, okay, fine, deal. I said deal, right?
Deal.
So then he private messages me, and he's like, "What's your address?" So I gave him my address, and they're based out of Chicago,
Okay.
so that's not too far away from here.
No, not as such.
So he was like, "Yeah, we'll send you a pizza," and I bought the pedal, not knowing what it was.
Okay.
And these were like these are limited edition. They're handmade, whatever. I didn't know what I was getting until I got it.
So what did you get?
So I'll get to that. So anyway, a couple days later in the mail, I got a couple of pizzas from a place called Illuminati's
Huh?
in Chicago.
Wait. Back up a second.
Because when I made the comment, I was like, I don't need to eat or nothing. He was like, "What if we throw in a pizza?"
Okay, wait a minute. So they sent you pizzas
They
from Chicago?
sent me a couple of frozen pizzas.
Okay, frozen. All right.
So this place, Illuminati's, you could go to the restaurant, you can order the food, and it's hot, whatever.
Wait, at a restaurant? No way.
Yeah, funny thing. So they sent me, like the prepackaged frozen stuff, and it's deep dish Chicago style pizza, which I like because I'm from that area.
I gotta admit, I gotta ask, how was it?
So I got two. I got a pepperoni, and then I got like an all meat or some shit like that.
Now we're talking.
So I cooked one in my oven, and it's fine. It tasted fine. It was good and whatever. So then the second one, a little bit down the road, I put on my smoker and I smoked it.
Smoked a pizza?
Yeah.
I've never heard of such a concept.
Yeah, so it was really good when I smoked it. And I let the guys know. I was like, hey, it was great. And I smoked one of them, and they were like, yeah, right on. So
All right.
I thought that was the coolest thing for a guitar pedal company to do. Is like they reached out to somebody and they were like, "We'll do this for you." It wasn't like a.
Well, they called your bluff.
They called my bluff. They did. They called my bluff, and I thought that was hilarious. So of course I bought what they were selling. So it took like months for me to get this pedal, and I didn't know what I was getting until I got it. It turns out that it's the Gary Holt pedal.
No shit.
Yeah, they did another version of it. So it's called the Paranormal whatever overdrive or something like that.
Huh.
So it's the signature Gary Holt pedal.
How's it sound?
It sounds pretty cool. The pedal's purple and it glows in the dark.
Okay, you sold me a glow in the dark.
Yeah, so I think that it's really fucking cool.
That is a great story.
It is, and it's something that I'm going to keep and I'm going to use.
Well, hell yes.
Other people, so these limited run pedals, people will buy and then just turn around and sell for $1,000.
Sure.
Which two people did,
What?
like on the internet. I have a low number. Mine's number like 35 of like 200 or something.
Okay.
And you got a T-shirt, and you got a little bag
Well,
to carry it in.
when you're talking about you can't go wrong with a T-shirt. I
Right.
bought, like we were talking about the typo negative dead again thing.
Yeah,
I
T-shirt.
wanted it because it came with a shirt.
T-shirts are cool.
I've never worn the damn shirt. It's too big, but I don't care.
Yeah.
Still sits in there.
So that's a cool story. They reached out to me and we talked a little bit, and
That is a cool story.
they sent me a fucking pizza for like it was like $60 or $70 worth of pizza for free.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
60 or wait a minute, $60 or $70 for two pizzas?
Yeah, you have to keep in mind they had to like overnight it.
I'm gonna say, are we factoring shipping and all this?
Well, it's I'm assuming if you look them up online, they're kind of high priced pizzas anyway.
One of those
But
types of things.
to have it sent to you,
That's amazing.
in dry ice, yeah.
That's amazing.
Like they did it for no cost to me.
Right.
They just did it, and it's really cool. So
Well, that's something they're unwittingly putting in their marketing budget.
Oh, yeah.
But probably never thought in a million years, well, we're going to send this guy a couple of pizzas just for the hell. I mean, wow.
Yeah, who does that? I mean, like,
They
I've...
do that.
Exactly. And I've had lots of brand name pedals that people have heard of, Mm-hmm. None of those guys have ever reached out to me and been like, here's a pizza for being a wise ass on the internet.
You almost have to give them your business after that. There's no getting around it.
Of course.
It's effort for effort. You're going to make that effort to call my bluff. Well, I have no choice.
And then get a hold of me personally.
Right. Well, and that's the whole thing that's really kind of fun about that too. Like, the whole thing with making a smart ass remark about the singer of a band barely anybody's ever heard of, and to have that singer get back to you. Now, was it her? I don't know. Could have been her webmaster, could have been her manager, but
it probably was her, given that that's not a real huge band,
Exactly. And I even went down the rabbit hole of seeing, did she reply to everybody else? And yeah, she did. And every time the signature was the same, but like every message was different. And it seemed personalized enough. That's
right.
Like, I tell you what, even if this is bullshit, I could buy this for 5 seconds. That kind of stuff's really pretty cool. So yeah, how do you not buy a pedal? You don't not buy a pedal.
Right.
You owe them even for that 5 seconds that you're like, feels pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you got a pizza out of it.
Yeah.
Or 2. Hell yeah.
Yeah, which they didn't have to do.
No, hell no, they didn't.
And they weren't exactly offering it to anybody else either, so.
No, and
that's pretty fucking cool.
Well, that's a damn good marketing department to be able to personalize what they're doing.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. But we were talking about Guns N' Roses, weren't we?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, so
we definitely got off the beaten path there.
And you know what? This is what we do here.
It is what we do.
And we do it well.
And we could keep going a little bit.
Well, we're going to lose ourselves at some point. This thing's going to wind up being 3 hours long. And you know what? Good. No, that's what I was asked today when I went to go do the podcast. Well, when are you going to be back? Oh, let's see. I got to be there about 3:45. I will call you when I'm done. I don't know how long I'm going to be. If I'm too late, start dinner for the kids. That's fine. I'll eat later. Yeah.
I just want to say, Duff was onto something with his drink of choice here. This cranberry vodka.
You digging the Duff?
Yeah, I've already finished mine, and I'm afraid to start another.
No, you're not.
Well, I have this beer I'm drinking, so we'll slow down just a hair.
But either way, there's the Stoli and there's the cranberry. No, dude, that's still my drink of choice. If I get a head cold or something like that, mix up a Duff. I'm good to go.
I'm going to have to remember that because I'm just getting over a head cold.
Dude, look at the vitamin C in that stuff,
There might be some.
There might be some. That's 100% of your daily allotment.
Contains 27% juice.
Yeah, and a hell of a lot of sugar.
60 milligrams of vitamin C. That might be enough.
60 milligrams? That's
60. That's it.
Fuck, I used to take the 500 capsules.
You get the rest from the vodka.
Vitamin C in vodka?
Fucking, I don't know.
I don't think there's vitamin C in vodka.
Let me see here. Stolichnia.
Stoli, if you will.
Is this potato?
Potato
vodka. It's a grain.
Yep.
Which grain? Corn?
No, not corn. You'd be able to taste the corn. I think wheat.
Wheat?
Yeah. No, speaking of vodka, I think I found my latest addiction is that Absolute Pears vodka.
Pear.
Yeah, pear vodka.
Yeah, I'll pass. I'm not a fan of pears.
Oh, yeah. What?
I don't like peach either.
I could see the peach part, but pears, man, you get a good Bosque pear. What the fuck? Is this a cooking show? Why are we doing this?
Don't get me started on food. Oh, speaking of which, so I've been looking for the Motorhead vodka because as much as I hate Jamie Josta, I bought his pasta. And I want.
Come on, think of something else that can rhyme.
And I plan it.
I did pasta on that pasta.
So shut up.
Oh,
so man. I want to make some with a fucking vodka sauce because I like making food. and it's metal food.
I'll tell you what. Let me talk to the missus. She's a foodie like you wouldn't believe, and she does it well. And
See,
nobody should look as gorgeous as her.
Like I was saying, I wanted
does.
to use the Motorhead vodka because it's metal themed.
Well, sure.
So here's the thing. I listened to the Jamie Josta podcast.
Yeah, what'd you think?
I don't like the guy. He's kind of a pompous asshole, and he's always trying to sell you something. Hence the pasta.
Josta pasta.
Josta pasta.
Well, for Christ's sakes, you can't. You would have to fault him if he didn't do that, because it's just begging for it.
But anyway, like he's trying to always sell you T-shirts and shit and merchandise, and I get it.
What do we do at the end of every podcast?
Well,
buy our stuff.
Hey, buy a one more last time hoodie because it's comfortable.
And buy a shirt that says "Nasty women always liked them, always will."
Indeed.
Absolutely. Buy our stuff.
Buy our merchandise.
All right, see what we did there?
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the Josta Pasta vodka.
Well, no, like I watched this podcast. I listened to a couple. I listened to who was his guest? From Crowbar and
Kirk?
No, not Kirk.
I'm gonna say he was in a band with Kirk.
Right, but
Jimmy. I don't know. Is there anybody else in Crowbar that anybody remembers?
Was Jimmy Bauer? Was he in Crowbar?
He may have guested with him.
Okay, well, it was Jimmy Bauer because I hate God.
How do you forget Jimmy Bauer?
So anyway,
Bauer.
He interviewed Jimmy Bauer, and it was pretty good. And then he did Head from Korn.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, okay, I guess it's okay.
And
then I turned around and I watched Rob Flynn because Rob Flynn also has a podcast because that's the hip thing to do during the pandemic.
Of course it is. What we're guilty of it.
So anyway, I have to say that Rob Flynn is a lot better at doing a podcast than Jamie Josta.
Really?
In my opinion.
Okay, why's that?
I just thought it was better. I just thought
natural.
A little more natural, or, like it just seemed like he wasn't trying to sell me fucking pasta, which I bought as the novelty.
So it worked. And I think that's why you hate him, because it worked.
Well, it didn't. He didn't. It wasn't like, ha, fucking gotcha. I knew what I was getting into.
Well, exactly, and I think that's what drove you nuts, is you knew what you were doing.
Yeah.
If you at least had been fooled, you could go back.
I want to talk about heavy metal themed stuff, and there's a pasta that's heavy metal themed.
Well,
and like these alcohols that I keep drinking, like this Motorhead beer.
Right.
And we're looking for the Pantera beer.
Yep, we sure are. And that's where, doesn't Sleep have... No, High on Fire definitely.
Yeah, High on Fire did. I don't know about Sleep.
No, Sleep would be more about the time you nationwide legalize marijuana. They're going to be the fucking third ones after Bob Marley and Willie Nelson with a signature
with a strain of weed.
Hey, why not?
A marijuana knot.
Speaking of which.
So, anyway, it's not like I'm a sucker and I just buy this shit because I'm a sucker. I'm well aware of what they're doing.
Yep. And that's almost worse if you think about it. I know what I'm doing.
I know what you're doing to me.
And I'm letting it happen.
I'm doing it by choice.
Yep. But anyway, so.
God bless America and her capitalism.
You know what? I'll take the capitalism because communism doesn't work.
Yeah.
In theory, it's a brilliant idea. In practice, no.
Yeah, stay off my grass.
Yep. Jesus. Got your tombstone. Fucking Chadwick Vontae. Get off of my lawn.
Stay off the grass.
And return my Megadeth albums. But, we gotta somehow get back to Guns N' Roses.
We're getting there.
But, I keep wanting to go back to Adler. All right, so we
go ahead. Go back to Adler. So they kicked him out of the band.
Yes,
essentially.
They did.
And like you have said before, his feel behind the drum set is kind of what made the band what they are.
It was 1/5 of it.
and I agree to a certain extent.
Well, what's your extent?
Well, I mean,
That's what I'm curious about.
I agree. They did have a certain, like, I don't know. When they got Matt,
I don't think I can do it.
that's fine. Yeah, when they got Matt Sorum, it was like a little more polished, and on the.
He's too good.
I don't know if he's too good.
Well,
but
I think I know where you're going with this.
it was like the production. The production was good. Like, it was real solid production,
right? And that's where,
and it wasn't like sleazy and sloppy anymore.
Well, and there's a lot to be said for that, and
or as sleazy and sloppy.
Well, and sleazy, sloppy, good, bad. In my opinion, none of these things matter because there's a feel that you're born with. Now, we've talked about Zeppelin and John Bonham and how the only person on earth that can sound like him is his son.
Who he personally taught how to play drums.
He not only taught, but he's got the DNA.
Yeah. Well, so speaking on that,
sure.
I listened to Mammoth, which is
what did you think?
Wolfgang Van Halen's thing.
Now, I'll full out admit, dickhead or not, I won't. I just can't be bothered. What did you think?
Well, it has a very modern rock sound, like a Nickelbacky kind of thing. Production, like a production, like a too polished of a production.
I got you.
I can't. I'll tell you real quick what song it was. It was the Don't Back Down. No, I didn't listen to that one because I thought it'd be too sappy because it was.
And I'm sure it is.
So it was the one called Don't Back Down.
Oh boy.
And it was okay. I think it's really impressive that he did everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Very much like Dave Grohl did.
Right. He did everything, and that's impressive. Not many people can do that.
Sure.
But I thought it was just kind of a, modern rock band.
In other words, why am I listening to you? What are you doing to stand out? And I'm not hearing anything.
It's not that I didn't hear anything. I just didn't hear anything on that particular song.
Okay.
It wasn't bad, but it wasn't like, hey, everybody, you got to listen to this.
Right. But going back to Adler and DNA and everything else, which great segue with the DNA. It's not that I think any drummer is any better than him or any worse, but there is a signature feel. To me, when it comes to bands or whatever, the two roles you cannot replace and expect it to be 100% the same are the vocalist, because it's a voice, you're born with it, or the drummer. And the big thing that people always get in a debate about with Guns N' Roses is they always say, oh, it ended when Izzy quit. I think it ended when Adler was fired. They never sounded like that. That's not saying one's better or worse, but they never sounded like that ever again after he was gone.
Yeah, and the case in point to that is he broke his hand, Steven Adler, then was replaced by the drummer from Cinderella,
Fred Curry. And I've heard some of those recordings. In fact, go down the rabbit hole, go on YouTube and look up Axl's Blues. It's just basically this blues riff that they're playing in throughout all of it. Axl's just speaking. Now, last night, what happened was 5 guys in suits decided in a Hyatt Regency hotel that we were scumbags. They were right, we're scumbags. I mean, it's just Axl talking. But, yeah, if you listen to just the music or whatever, Fred Curry does actually an amazingly good job at playing that loose bluesy stuff when, Cinderella was very 2/4, precise. But it wasn't Adler. You could tell the difference. And I mean, all you have to do is look up any footage from the Use Your Illusion tour where they're playing songs off Appetite. Oh, it's a whole other ballgame. And that's where that live album they put out, Live Era, I don't think there's a single Adler recording on it. They will not tell you when the dates are or whatever. They'll just say from so-and-so to so-and-so. Adler ain't on that album. And you could tell when you listen to Soarin' play Rocket Queen as opposed to what Adler did.
Yeah.
Or any of it. Welcome to the Jungle, all of it. You know what era it comes from just by listening to the drums. And I think they, like it or not, they lost the Appetite sound once Adler was fired. Nobody can replicate what that guy did.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I don't want to say all the other stuff is bad, but
No,
it's
'cause
just it's a little more sterile.
Exactly, and that's where you start getting into just how massive the name Guns N' Roses was. But that's where I keep wondering, and going way back to the question I asked before, is that based on one album or not? And I truly think it is. I truly think it is. I mean, you know, the Use Your Illusion albums, I put so much time into them and everything else.
Well, I think it was kind of weird because there's a lot of different writing credits on a lot of those songs.
Well, and if you listen to those songs, do any of them really even sound like they're from the same band?
No.
Like, I mean, you go from a song like Right Next Door to Hell, which is pure fucking aggression, and then you go to Dust and Bones, which is an Izzy song. It's two different fucking bands.
But you know what I mean? Well, there was different songwriters, you know.
Oh, sure.
But Arkeem West and
and
Shannon Hoon was in on some of those, and
he didn't write, but he sang on there.
I thought he had a writing credit on one or two of them, and I could be totally wrong about that.
I'd have to look it up, but no, as far as West Arkeen and Del James, one of the two of them, and I'm kicking myself for not remembering, co-wrote It's So Easy. And also co-wrote Yesterday's off Use Your Illusion 2. Yeah, so they've had outside writers in that sort of regard. I mean, Del and West, they were friends of the band, really. In fact, God, was it West Arkeen or Del James that wrote the short story that the November Rain video was based on?
I don't recall that, but I think that's kind of where the beginning of the end of the band happened.
What, with the outside collaborators?
Yeah, I mean, and like they hired. So after Izzy left, they tried to hire, or I don't know the order of it. They hired Gilby Clarke,
right?
But then they also hired some like childhood friend of Axl.
Paul Huge.
Yeah,
Paul Tobias.
Yeah, and I think that's when Slash was like, "I've had enough of this shit."
Yep, that was his deal breaker. But yeah, that's the whole damn thing. That's one thing about Axl Rose. You know, anything you can say about him, that guy is so fucking loyal. You know, he brought in his sister and brother to help, like on the Use Your Illusion tour. He talk about an Elvis level of spending insanity. He would have pizzas from a pizzeria in Indiana delivered to him on the road.
That's crazy.
That's how loyal he was, though. I mean, and a lot of people say he kind of fell apart when Izzy quit that band, just because Izzy was his childhood friend. Izzy was the guy that when Axl went to California, he spent like 2 weeks just looking for Izzy. Yeah, that's the level of loyalty that guy has, and you can't really fault that. But does it get in the way of business? And I think for someone like Slash, it very much did. But back to Adler, because I'm always going to go back to Adler. When talking about that Farm Aid performance, you know, you've brought up that it's sloppy. And for my part, I think for him never having heard Down on the Farm, if I had never heard that song, I would not have known he never heard it. And I think as far as going to...
well, see, that's the thing, though.
Sure.
I don't find that impressive, because if you're a musician worth your weight, you should be able to do that.
Yep, and you're right. And that's where I think Adler kind of got shafted, because he was a musician worth his weight.
Right. And
they made it sound like he wasn't.
Right, because he was fucking up too much.
Right.
And it was their attempt to be like, hey, you fucked up, and look, we got you on camera fucking up.
Yeah, and that's where I'm watching this going, no, you don't. No, you don't. He did exactly what he, as a drummer, was supposed to do. And that's where, good God. But
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, he did. He performed, and it wasn't a complete shit show embarrassment.
Right, and that's
and
why...
it could have been.
Oh, it could have been. It should have
But
been.
I think that, he owes Duff a little bit of credit for that. Because,
No, he's given Duff the credit.
Well, right, but you know what I mean? He didn't do it alone.
No, he's flat out said, Duff helped me.
Of course.
And that's where, going back into one of the original questions was, how much does the sound change when one member changes? And, the singer, obviously, because it's the voice, and then the drummer. And I think once Adler was gone, because so many people, I shouldn't say everyone's saying, but no, so many people I've spoke to have said, yeah, when Izzy left, it changed. I don't think so. I think when Adler left, it changed.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Now, as far as did Adler go,
I'm sure that wasn't the only factor. I mean, having a new drummer, and then, like I said, on Use Your Illusion, they had, other writers and other...
And everyone was giving it... Slash has said it's their version of the White Album. And it so much is, because, Jesus Christ, you can't pin one style to that band on those albums. And that's where you get into... Is Guns N' Roses musically the band that's worshipped, or is it the idea of them? And I have to lend towards the idea, because like we just discussed, when I discovered Appetite at the age of 10, 3 years after the album came out, it's like, no, I don't want to just sound like that. I want to be this. They became bigger than even their music. But now, as far as did Adler get a raw deal? God, anybody listening to this podcast is going to fucking go insane by the end of it.
All right, well, I think they were trying to give him a raw deal because he ended up suing the band. And basically what the end of the settlement was is he ended up getting like $2.2 million and his writing credit, or 15% royalties.
Yep.
They were trying to take all that away from him. And I think they were trying to only pay him like $2,000 like per show or something that he did.
Yeah, they were gonna shaft him, and the jury saw it. But this is where you get into the half and half with, for me, how I view Adler. Reading his biography, he talks about how he won because the jury could see just how arrogant everybody else was. But then he also makes it a point to back up what Slash had accused him of when he says, and I had a stash on me, and I would go to the restroom every 10 minutes. That doesn't really help you when you're trying to plead your case, Talking about, oh, I got shafted and poor me, but hey, guess what? I went to the bathroom and snorted a fucking half a gram every 10 minutes. Like, you're kind of making their point. But at the same time, you go back to, well, you know what? They shouldn't have tried to fuck him out of his royalties, which he was the one. This is the big thing. They talk about how when they were talking about splitting the writing credits, it was originally going to be 20% each. But even Slash has acknowledged that Axl had stood up at that point and said, no way am I taking as much as the drummer. And it kind of psychologically fucked with Adler. Now, Slash's side of the story is that everyone just agreed to it and went with it. Adler's side of it is, oh, I did this because he deserves more. You're rewriting history, dude. There's no way that was your motivation to just take 5% less. But it's kind of funny, though, when you think about, okay, so Adler got a diminished royalty rate than everybody else. Must mean he's not as important, right? Wrong. Nope. When he left, the sound of that band changed.
Well, it wasn't necessarily for the worse, though, because those are still good songs.
That's true, and I mean, and that's where I think there's been...
And then I think it was everybody else's fuck-ups.
Oh, sure. And that's where you look at, has this almost religion built up around this album, to where if one little thing changes, it's not the same band anymore. And I'll admit, I've fallen into that. You know, to where you can listen to the Use Your Illusion albums, and they're great songs. But there's a part of me in the back of my mind going, well, what if Adler played this? But I don't know that Adler could have played a lot of that stuff.
Well, yeah, one of the biggest complaints is when they were recording Civil War.
Right.
He went through like 20 takes.
Well, and this is the other thing I want to get into about, I'm glad you said that. Because when you talk about the Raw deal, did he get one or not? On one hand, let's take the viewpoint that Slash and Duff were not in good shape at all. Axl wasn't even there, and Izzy was getting himself cleaned up. But so Adler comes in, and he cannot play. Now you look at the other end of it. As it turns out, during that period of time, he was trying to kick heroin, so he went to a doctor to get something to help him with the withdrawal. What the doctor gave him was something that you were not supposed to take if you had any semblance of an opiate in your system. Well, the doctor never even bothered to ask Steven about that. Steven took the magic pill and got just sicker than hell. And it was at that point Slash said, no, you have to come in. Now, I bring this up because you can hear somebody say, oh, I got sick or whatever. I've already dove down this rabbit hole, so I got to just touch on it again. I've been in that position, and I have taken that medicine without knowing that you couldn't have anything left in your system. Otherwise, it's going to kick it out and make it even worse. I've felt the way Adler felt. And the fact that he could even get to the studio is a miracle. Because what he was going through were cramps that never ended, freezing to death when you're sweating your ass off, and psychologically just wanting to end what you're feeling. It is the single stupidest, because it's self-inflicted, but most hellish feeling you could go through. So I could see why Adler would have said, I can't right now. But if you go to Slash's end of it, saying, no, go to work, you got a job to do. Also look at the fact that Axl wasn't even there. That they would let him get away with not showing up for 2 months. But Adler just had to be there. I could kind of see where Steven Adler's a little pissy about that. Yeah, I fucked up. Yeah, I'm an addict. Yeah, I'm sick because of me. But wait a minute. The singer doesn't have to show up. Why in the hell can't I be given a week to get better? So it's really kind of personal viewpoint. You know, you can either think one way or the other. For my part, Adler doesn't do himself any favors because he just kept screwing up and he kept playing the villain game. Well, if this dealer hadn't showed up, oh, if this hadn't happened or that hadn't happened, he really doesn't own it 100%. But he also brings up the point that Slash could die on tour and did. Overdosed, flatlined, and everything else. He didn't get fired. You know, Duff would fall over on stage. He didn't get fired. Why does Adler get fired? And I think Adler got fired because it's been confirmed through a few different sources that he was literally the only one that would mouth off to Axl Rose. Everyone else in the band would just kind of step back or whatever, but Adler would lip off to him. And as it turns out, Matt Sorum would also be the only other one to stand up to Axl as well. But yeah, I think it was because Adler would lip off to him that Axl had no problem firing him. Because it's kind of come out that Axl didn't really like Steven Adler anyway. And why would he? Steven Adler was the blonde, good-looking California guy who got all the ass he ever wanted, who people generally liked. And Axl was the redheaded guy from Indiana who was misunderstood. Axl needed a villain, and he had Steven. All right, that's a major rabbit hole dig. Pull me on up, Chad. Where are we at?
You know, I don't really know where to go from there, but I would like to jump back over to Lies.
All right. Excellent. Excellent. What do you got?
Well, it's obviously the elephant in the room. 1 in a Million.
All right. Yes. Let's go back a little bit, and we'll start with the beginning of Lies, which is the first 4 songs are quote unquote live recordings of them somewhere. But as it turns out, that wasn't the case, and Lies is actually half of an album that was already released anyway. It was Live Like a Suicide, which was essentially their kind of, really appetizer for Appetite. They needed to release something, so they went in the studio, recorded 4 songs, put a bunch of crowd noise over them, and said, hey, it's our live EP before the album comes out.
You know, it's funny how well that works because one of the Slipknot demos did that too.
Really?
Yeah, it was like, I don't know if it was the first time they put Corey Taylor in the front of the band.
All right.
But they had, it was like their 1997 demo or something. They did.
Wow.
It was like a faux live kind of thing.
So they did that then.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's essentially what Guns N' Roses did. They'd gotten their deal with Geffen, but it was going to take some time to record that album, and they needed a product out there. So they recorded 4 songs, put crowd noise over it, and said this is a live album called Live Like a Suicide. And it was imprinted on their quote-unquote label called Uzi Suicide, which I can't recall if Geffen had their label on that EP or not, but I know Uzi Suicide definitely was. I think, in fact, I know that they did that because they wanted it to seem more indie, not with major label backing.
Right.
But as far as that album, I mean, what do you feel about those 4 tracks?
Well, I like Mama Kin. I like,
Yep.
you know, I dig any Aerosmith, like early Aerosmith stuff.
Oh, hell yeah. And then the Rose Tattoo song, Nice Boys.
Yeah, well, I don't, whatever.
Okay, fair enough. But
Don't care.
now, those 4 songs to me were the sound of a band not fully realized, but with all the energy.
Wait, what was on that again? It was
Reckless Life, Nice Boys, Move to the City, and Mamakin. 2 covers, 2 originals.
all right, okay.
Yeah, Reckless Life. That song makes me think of another song that was supposed to be on Appetite called Shadow of Your Love. Now, that particular sound is very fast. It's very LA sleaze. It's very gritty. And that was Guns N' Roses when they were discovered. Now, you take songs like Sweet Child of Mine, that was pretty well realized after they'd gotten their deal. Or anything of that nature. But no, you listen to those first 4 songs, that's what the people in the clubs were seeing. This sleazy, aggressive, absolute insanity. But something had to make it stand out a bit from the rest of that pact. I mean, you know, because you had even subsects in the whole 80s metal scene or 80s rock scene or whatever. You know, you had the absolute glam people like Poison or Cinderella. You know, you had the heavy metal end of it, the thrash metal like Metallica and Megadeth. And then there was this sleaze rock scene that was LA Guns, and it was, well, Guns N' Roses or Jet Boy or Faster Pussycat. You know, bands that were very simple, very sloppy, and very sleazy. And Guns N' Roses fell into that category. That was the crowd that they were in. But there was always something about them that stood out, even to the thrash metal guys, and it was this, I guess, genuine danger or this borderline insanity that really came from, number one, a frontman like Axl Rose, and number 2, a band of such disparate personalities that none of them should have been in the same band. Izzy should have been playing for Johnny Thunders and the Heartbreakers. Fucking Steven Adler could have been in Poison. Duff could have been in any punk band. You know, Slash, how do you categorize Slash? There is no way to put him in a box at all. And then you have this insane, fucking destructive frontman that you might laugh at, but you don't do it to his face because he'll fucking go nuts on you. Axl. And you see hints of that in those first 4 songs.
Yeah. Do you think they were afraid of Axl?
I think, I don't know if afraid so much as more, I'm not going to bother with this. It's not worth the effort. And one great example of that is in Slash's biography. He talks about one of his ex-girlfriends, a lady named Yvonne, at least according to the book. And he talks about how Yvonne being very honest, very fucking just in your face, asked Duff if he was gay the first time she ever met him. She had fucked Axl and told Slash about it. So I guess Slash called him up and said, "You fucked Yvonne? What kind of cheap shot is that? Not, you fucking asshole, you fucked my girlfriend, but what kind of cheap shot is that?" And they were gonna fight. And Axl was just like, "All right, meet me here. We'll fucking do this." And Slash in his book says, "I thought about it, and I was that pissed off, but then I just thought it's not worth the fucking effort." I think that's a lot of how they viewed Axl. They knew they were going to deal with a headache, which was either going to be psychological or physical. And I think they just didn't want to deal with it. That's where I think their mindset was with him. But was there a bit of fear? Yeah, I think there was. Because, I mean, there's nothing scarier than a crazy man who cannot be reasoned with. You know, not to say that Axl's crazy, but that they viewed him as someone who, once he gets something in his head, you ain't changing his mind. Is it worth dealing with the consequence of that, or do I just let it go? I mean, the guy fucked Slash's girlfriend. I mean, I don't think I could let that go. But in the end, he just said, "What kind of cheap shot is that?" That's how they viewed the whole thing. Not, "You fucked my girlfriend, you broke my heart," but that was a cheap shot.
Yeah, there's no honor amongst thieves.
No, not so much.
Well, I mean, that also goes to show how much they've really thought about women anyway.
And that's exactly right. I mean, Adler, going back to Adler when, all right, Rocket Queen. Okay, it's common knowledge that during the bridge, the slide solo, there's very genuine sounding female moans. And that is the real deal of Axl fucking a woman named, I can't remember if it was Adriana or what, but she was a stripper. Turns out she was also Steven Adler's girlfriend. And it essentially sounds like she wanted to get back at Steven Adler for cheating on her or some shit like that. And Axl had kind of had his eye on her for a little bit, so Axl talked her into having sex while it was mic'd in the recording studio. And Slash's fucking summation of it is my favorite one. When you read his book, it says, "Enjoy it. It's right there in the mix." I mean, that's it. That's the equivalent of saying, "Here's a basket of dinner rolls. Enjoy them. They're right there on the table. Yeah, just enjoy it. It's there in the mix." But, and then Adler was asked about it years later, and his whole thing was he wasn't pissed off. He's just like, I think the way he summed it up was, to paraphrase, "I'm not married to any woman. I'm married to rock and roll." You know, just like, okay, well, you fucked my girlfriend, but hey, it's on the album. I don't know. I think that might drive me a bit insane, especially considering how many million copies of that album were sold.
I'm sure at this point it's let bygones be bygones. So.
Well, and the woman in question, she was interviewed on some VH1 thing about groupies or whatever the hell. And even she was saying, "Yes, I accept it now, but that took years to get past."
Oh, I'm sure.
Well, just think of just go through your history, pick out one sexual encounter with somebody that you're not with now. Only 30 million people have heard it, and 30 million more will continue to hear it. Jesus Christ. I mean, yeah, I could imagine it took that woman a bit of time to get over, but she, by her own admission, was drunk on Jack Daniels and just young and crazy. "Yeah, I'll do it for the band." But that's where Axl kind of wins in the end. He's like, "Yep, I fucked your ex, and it's on tape, and you can't get around it." I think little ways like that are how Axl controlled that band. He had them. And they didn't so much think, "I'm not going through this because I'm afraid." It's more, I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah. Do you think their drug use also kind of clouded them?
I know it did. I know damn well it did. Because, I mean, like we talked about before, Axl was never really out of control with alcohol or drugs. Duff, on the other hand, was by his own admission drunk the whole time. You know,
Well, he burned a hole in his fucking septum with all the coke he did.
yeah, because he was snorted uncut.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think and Slash for his part, heroin. If you delve into anything like it, it just turns down the volume. But then drinking is worse though, because you'll get drunk and make bad decisions. But the real kicker isn't so much the things you do, but the fact that you wake up the next day wrecked, and you'd rather just not deal with anything. I think that had a lot to do with it. So yeah, well, it's just like if you ever dive into the history of Aerosmith, you know.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've read Walk This Way, that biography.
Yeah, they've flat out admitted it wasn't the drugs that were the problem. It was the dumb decisions we made while on them. And I hate to sound like that guy, but you really have to experience it to know why that would happen. You know, I mean, drinking, that's one thing. Everyone's, oh, I was drunk, you know, or whatever the hell. But no, you do a bunch of blow, and mediocre ideas seem like genius ideas. I mean, I'll put it this way. The only notebooks I've ever thrown out in my entire life are the ones filled with cocaine writings. Because you'll write this shit and it seems just like brilliant or whatever. Then you wake up the next day and go, oh my God, what the fuck did I write? This is embarrassing. Yeah, coke will do that. Now, heroin or any variation of it, opioids, if you will, in this modern era. John Frusciante from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, I watched an interview with him. I think it was shortly after he got kicked out of that band. And that footage, if you look at him, he's smacked out of his fucking head. But somebody asked him, said, well, what's the appeal of heroin? And in that interview, he said something to the effect of, it makes me appreciate the beauty of the world. Paraphrasing. And I remember watching it thinking, you are out of your fucking mind. Dude, you're as white as a goddamn ghost. Your pupils are pinned. You look like shit, and you're talking about beauty? But then you do it. And you could be in a fucking DHS-ridden house like shows we've played at. And the whole scene, you know it's sad, you know it's pathetic, but you're loaded enough to tolerate being in it. You're almost detached. Yeah, I mean, you could wake up and get in your car and go for a drive. Fucking bang a few milligrams, something good. All of a sudden, the trees that you just ignored look beautiful. You know, it's a sunny day. This is the greatest thing in the world. Take Slash, put him on a bunch of smack, you know. He's got his singer in front of how many thousand people saying, I'm going to quit if people don't quit dancing with Mr. Brownstone. And everyone knows what he's talking about. And he's sitting there with his guitar in his hand, just high as shit, having just shot up. And he didn't storm off stage and quit. He didn't confront Axl after the show and say, what the fuck were you doing? He just, well, I still got a guitar in my hand and I can deal with this tomorrow. Smack. It makes it that much more tolerable. So yeah, I don't think Axl knowingly took advantage of the fact that the rest of his band was high, but I think he was pretty fucking well aware of it. And able to kind of say, all right, well, I can do what I want.
And he did.
Yes, he did. And that's the whole other thing about Guns N' Roses is, like I've said, I really think people...
So he basically did whatever he wanted. And do you think it was everyone else was just so clouded with drugs they didn't care?
I think, number one, clouded with drugs, and number two, tired.
Yeah.
But also, if you think about it, think about your job, or I'll think about mine, and you could fucking hate your boss. you could really, in all reality, not like what you do all the time, you know? I don't like getting burned by fucking weld sparks, you know? Anything like that. But in my mind, I've got a job. I would like to keep this job because this is my livelihood. So that means if my boss is an asshole, fuck it, I'll put up with him. You know, if I burn myself, you know what? It happens. You still keep your job. I think they very much did that as well.
Yeah.
You know, not everybody gets that artistic integrity. You know, at a certain point you're doing your job. Because, I mean, if you look at what Guns N' Roses became, somehow Axl talked Slash into being the one to hire all the additional musicians that happened on the Illusion tour.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Huh. Yeah. That's in Slash's books. Like, and he's flat out said it.
It's been so long since I've read these books.
Read them again.
I know Duff had 2, and I think I read both of his books.
I'm reading the second one, and we'll touch on that later if you want. But
yeah, I can't. They're not fresh in my mind, but I know I enjoyed them. I know I enjoyed reading Duff's books.
Right.
He's kind of a well-read guy, actually.
That's the weird thing.
And then he became an accountant.
Well, that's the strange thing about Duff.
like his downtime when he wasn't an active musician.
Well,
he was like, I'm going to go back to a university and I'm going to become an accountant.
That's right, and this is where you talk about the disparate personalities of that band. Duff, Slash has said Duff was the only one in that band who ever had his own place, his own apartment. Duff was the one who had his act together even when he was falling apart. That doesn't make sense in the context of Guns N' Roses, where they're all homeless and fucking fucked up and nuts. No, Duff was his own guy and has very much remained that way.
Well, so that, you know, that speaks to the longevity that he has had as a musician and with the people he's played with.
Absolutely. But, you know, you go back to, where were we at? Oh, right, the Slash having to be the musical director. How much Guns N' Roses changed from the band that made Appetite to what they became at that point in time. Yeah, Slash was charged with hiring the extra keyboard player, the horn section, the female backup singers. And the best way it sums it up, what happened to them was many years ago, my brothers and I were all living at home, and I was the one that shouldn't have been living at home. But anyway, I woke up early for work or something like that. And I came downstairs and I hear this music playing. My brother was up. And I thought he was watching The Price is Right. Because it sounded like the Showcase Showdown or whatever the hell.
With the horns.
Yeah. But I walked in and I see Slash. And I looked at my brother and said, dude, what are you watching? He's like, oh, that Guns N' Roses live video that you bought. Yeah, for a split second, I thought I was watching a game show. That's what happened to that band. They became not bad because, you know, it was quality music, but it's like, this is something that should be seen in Vegas at a residency, not out of Guns N' Roses.
I don't know. In your opinion.
Exactly, in my opinion.
Evidently, in Axl Rose's opinion, that's exactly what they needed to be.
And that's where you start talking about how big Guns N' Roses was. And how fans...
Fucking
like
swimming
me,
with dolphins. And
yeah, and how fans like me almost take ownership of that to where it's not even yours anymore. And you look at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. Axl told them, don't induct me. You know why? Because they would not induct the members of his current band. That was his big problem with it. Izzy, on the other hand, just said, fuck it, I'm not showing up. I don't feel like it.
Right.
But everyone else did.
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about why Green Day inducted them. I want to dive down this one so bad.
No, I don't understand that. But I would like to talk about all... Let's
go back to Green Day.
Sure, let's talk about the member changes. Because there's quite a few.
Yes.
Quite a few. And, oh, God, some of them don't make any fucking sense whatsoever.
And that's where you start to go back to the band itself didn't make any sense. But that's where how big were they that we all took ownership of what Guns N' Roses is supposed to be, to where them hiring a drummer like Josh Freese or Brian Brain Mantia doesn't make sense to us.
See, that's the thing. It's like you have guys who can technically play the notes.
Right.
It's like, yep, that's the right note, but it's the wrong feel.
Yes, and
I know that's your point with Steven Adler, is
you.
because he has a certain push and pull
that nobody else is going to get.
Kind of gives you that traditional Guns N' Roses sound.
Yes.
Now, Matt Sorum, not a bad drummer at all, because he's been around for so long.
Sure.
And also, okay, so quick segue here. I listened to, hey, what'd you listen to this week? So I listened to the new Billy Gibbons solo stuff, and his solo band is Matt Sorum,
Really?
some other dude, and himself.
Okay.
I don't even know who plays bass.
That surprises me. But
Yeah. So I listened to their new single, and it's like a rockabilly kind of surf rockabilly song.
Yeah,
and
Billy Gibbons is old and can do whatever the fuck he wants.
Yeah, pretty much. And Matt Sorum's in that band, and it's real solid, and it's exactly what that band needs.
Sure. And that's just it.
So, well, basically
I'm
to me,
lost, so bring me
basically
back.
to me, anyway, the Appetite era songs needed Steven Adler. But anything after that, I don't think it mattered.
Right, and that's where you start talking about, is it really Guns N' Roses then?
To me, I think
If it doesn't matter.
I think Slash made Guns N' Roses.
See, and I think I agree.
Because like you said, there's no category for Slash.
I agree with that.
He
a
was
fifth of the time.
He's such a well, yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like, yeah, you're gonna play off the other members of the band,
Sure.
but
Yeah, how do you categorize Slash though?
exactly,
Slash is his own category.
He is. He's a very unique sounding guitar player and songwriter, and that's pretty. I think what made the music.
And I think a lot of it, which you're talking music, I'm talking image. What the fuck does he even look like? He is not a glam guy.
He looks.
He
Slash,
looks like Slash.
Slash looks like rock and roll.
Yes,
Slash looks like a fucking Ed Roth character come to life.
But think about it. If he was anything but Slash, though, would he, though? He's got this massive, what has been called a Jew-fro. He's half black, half white. There's just no way to categorize him. He is his own category.
Yeah.
And he's the only one that will ever be his own category.
Yeah, he has a very unique style that I don't think you can copy.
Put it this way. He has to be referred to by one word.
Yeah.
Slash. There's no last name to attach to him. He can't be named John. He was named Saul. But no.
Hell, even his real name is sort of an
Saul Hudson.
is unique, you know?
Yeah.
Even if he was Saul Hudson in Guns N' Roses.
Just because his background is so unique, beginning with his father, a long-haired white guy, and then his mother, a black woman. It took me years to figure out. It's like, because I couldn't figure out, is he black or white? And as it turns out,
He's black.
he's both.
When you're black, you're black.
He's both.
Kind of like Tom Morello. He's half black and half white, but he's black.
Fair enough. But no, I never thought of Slash as black, though.
Okay.
Or white. I just thought him as Slash.
Maybe that's why Michael Jackson recruited him for that video.
Possibly. But it's also been said that Michael Jackson was very fascinated with him because of the cartoon character aspect of him. If you think about it, Slash is such a character. He's like a cartoon, really.
Yeah.
And you can't really say that about anybody else. I can't think of anybody else.
Not many people know.
No, but anyway, I want to... This episode is going to be so fucking ridiculous, which is great, but I want to go back to their Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction.
Right, yeah.
I have tried to figure out for a few years now, and maybe you can help me out. Why Green Day? The only thing I could think of is because Green Day is a punk band, and Duff was at one point a punk rocker. But what in the fuck does Green Day have to do with Guns N' Roses? And my opinion is, because it's still run by a bunch of hipster assholes, they won't possibly get any of their contemporaries to do it. Anybody that would have anything to do with Guns N' Roses isn't cool, if you will.
They're probably also not alive.
Well, yes and no. I mean, for Christ's sakes, Guns N' Roses, they could have had somebody from the cult induct them. They could have had, Tracy Guns.
Well, let's stop and think about this.
Sure.
Who would be the most logical choice
To induct Guns N' Roses?
to induct Guns N' Roses?
Joe Perry from Aerosmith.
I was just gonna say Aerosmith
Yeah, because...
or the Stones.
Right. But, yeah, that's the whole damn thing is... Got to pick somebody contemporary, which, how is Green Day contemporary anyway?
Well,
No, it's got to be cool. It's got to be acceptable.
was it cool and acceptable at the time? I don't even know what year they were inducted.
I want to say 2016, but I'm not sure. But no, and that's the whole thing with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductions lately. There was a time where Aerosmith inducted Led Zeppelin. Metallica inducted Black Sabbath. That made sense. What didn't make sense was Kid Rock. And why is it always fucking Kid Rock? He has inducted Aerosmith, Bob Seger, God, who else? Cheap Trick, fucking Cheap Trick. Why him? What the fuck does he have to do with Cheap Trick? Nothing. Bob Seger, I understood that, but Leonard Skinner? You couldn't get fucking Charlie Daniels to induct Leonard Skinner. It had to be Kid Rock. What does Kid Rock have on Jan Wenner from Rolling Stone? That's what I want to know. And then the biggest one that made no sense to me, had nothing to do with Kid Rock or even Green Day. Tom Morello inducting Kiss.
Well, that makes sense to me because he's a huge Kiss fan.
Okay.
Like, that's his number one band. Like, I think that's his number one band. Like, that influenced him when he was younger.
Okay, him and everybody else from the 70s.
Yeah.
But that's what I don't understand is Tom Morello, and this is why. Because Tom Morello has gone to great lengths to say image doesn't matter. I'm not going to be tied to an image. All these bands in LA wanted to know how long my hair was. Image doesn't matter. Who the fuck are you inducting?
I think that's a little different though.
How?
I don't know.
I mean, I get Tom Morello's end of it. It's got to be about the music, and I also get that he's very much an activist. It's very intellectual. Kiss is so anti-intellectual. It's not even funny. Their entire shtick is their makeup. Why is the guy who hates Image inducting them?
Because it's favorite band, man.
I don't know. I still think that's the one that doesn't sit right with me.
I don't know. I think it makes sense because
I'm glad we disagree. That's why we have a podcast.
He has high praises for Kiss. I mean,
and he has high praises for a lot of metal. I'm not saying Tom Morello sucks. I love Tom Morello.
But like when you're early guitar player first getting going, that was his band, man.
Sure. But that's also the equivalent of...
That would be like if they were like, hey, do you want to induct Tony Iommi into something? I would be like, yeah, yes.
Right, but that makes sense. Okay, here's the thing. That would be as bad as Fred Durst inducting Kiss because he dressed as Ace Frehley once.
I don't think that's the same thing. Not because he dressed as Ace Frehley once. But I honestly think, Tom Morello lived and breathed it.
He probably did, but... he didn't grow up to be that. And he never talked about Kiss until he inducted them.
I'm pretty sure in a lot of interviews he has mentioned them.
I would love for you to find those interviews because I've never once heard Tom Morello talking about Kiss.
All right, I think I will look into that and present you with something.
Good, please do. But no,
but I think for Tom Morello, he learned early on, which is really good. Your sound is your sound. He learned early on, like, this is what I have. This is what I'm going to sound like.
But what does that have to do with Kiss? Their sound is irrelevant. It's what they look like.
Right. He went with sound and not image.
I agree with you, but I think you're stretching it a bit.
I don't think so.
I think they needed somebody cool to induct Kiss, and you couldn't possibly have anybody that would have been influenced by them. No, you got to have the one guy who was influenced by them but did nothing with it, but we still respect Tom Morello, so let him induct them.
Well, I think he was also on the board at the time.
Right.
But who in your perfect world would induct Kiss?
Nikki Sixx.
Why?
Because Nikki Sixx was an unapologetic Kiss fan. Nikki Sixx based his career on image and not music.
See, to me, so you're not totally. I don't think you're wrong, but I see more of like it would make sense if he inducted a Cheap Trick.
I think Slash or Nikki Sixx should have inducted Cheap Trick.
See, that's also a fair point.
Yeah, why Kid Rock? I can't fathom what Kid Rock has to do with Cheap Trick beyond the fact that they're from the Midwest.
I remember like one of the Cheap Trick anniversary shows, Slash came out and played with them.
Slash, I think, got busted for stealing their live album from Tower Records. He's a huge Cheap Trick fan.
He's also a huge Stones and Aerosmith fan.
Yes. Now Kid Rock inducting Aerosmith, I get because the whole combined rap and rock, blah, blah, blah.
I don't know.
But
I think that's a stretch.
There's so many more people that should have, and Slash should have been the one inducting Aerosmith. Because Rocks was the album that changed his life.
don't disagree.
Slash inducted Van Halen.
Okay.
Yeah, which makes sense, but it doesn't because Slash was never the guitar wizardly guy.
Not to that extent, no.
But Green Day inducting Guns N' Roses, that one...
I don't understand it.
I think it was just they needed some kind of credibility. So
somebody who was cool at the time.
Yep.
Because didn't they have Green Day have a good album that year or something?
American Idiot was actually still very old by that point.
I don't know. That's probably right. I don't keep up on Green Day. I never really cared for them.
I'm so half and half on them. I'll admit that Dookie, when it came out...
I remember when that came out. I was like in 4th or 5th grade.
I was like a freshman. And
that doesn't make sense.
And it was pure... It doesn't, but we'll figure it out later. But no, Dookie to me was pure just energy. And it was great. And it was these guys singing about alienation or whatever. And of course I'm 15 going, hey, nobody likes me, so I get it. You know, fucking... So yeah, Green Day was good. Insomniac is a fucking brilliant album of theirs. Because it's all about meth. And they almost borderline playing riffs. Yeah, I would say if you're going to check out any Green Day album, check out that one.
I've not checked out any Green Day albums.
Well, check out Insomnia. Or at least look up the song Geek Steak Breath. But,
is that my homework, Green Day? The first 3 records?
No, just that one song.
First 2?
Just that one song. I'm not putting you through the Poison bullshit again. No, just look up the song Geek Steak Breath.
I think I'm just going to do the first 2.
Yeah, you'll miss Insomnia then.
All right, then I'll do first 3.
Yeah, you'll still miss Insomnia.
Which one was that one?
4.
What was the third one?
Dookie.
What was the first one?
The fuck was it called?
Green Day?
10,000 Miles from Home or 10,000 Slap Happy Hours. Some convoluted title. And the second one was Kerplunk.
Obviously, I don't know fuck all about Green Day.
No, the first one was Kerplunk.
Oh.
Get it? And then,
okay.
10,000 Slap Happy Hours, then Dookie.
All right. Learn something new.
This is what I do. But fucking all right. So back to Guns N' Roses. Before the Hall of Fame, Jesus Christ.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Axl refused to attend it because they wouldn't induct his current band members.
Who was that at the time? Was it Buckethead?
No.
Or was it Bumblefoot?
Bumblefoot. And they had Buckethead, then they had DJ Ashba, and then they got, actually I think Slash back. Yeah, Bumblefoot was like the Izzy to that.
Yeah, well, so that guy's a really good guitar player.
Right.
But that's the dumbest fucking name.
I wondered what the fuck Bumblefoot even meant.
I don't know.
It's like
But he had a guitar that was like cheese foot shaped or something.
Huh?
It was like a foot made of cheese.
I'm pretty sure I saw him live. In fact, I know I did because...
God, who recommended him? Joe Satriani or something?
Possibly. But, yeah. The first and, only time I ever saw Guns N' Roses live was, very late 2006. Chinese Democracy still hadn't happened at that point.
Right.
But it was one of the many Guns N' Roses going on tour, Men Will Tear at the Beard and everything else thing. And of course, I wanted to go. I fucking had loved this band since I was 10. So, yeah, that came up. So I'll tell you about that show.
Not to cut you off,
please, go ahead.
But Bumblefoot it could play note for note slash. Like note for note.
But without the feel. I should know I was there.
Right.
And that's where you start getting into what had happened to this band, even by that point. Yeah, so 2006, I woke up at 5 in the morning to go to work. Worked through my whole day, and then went to the concert. It was in Ames, and the opening band, I'm pretty sure, actually, no, I know damn well, Sebastian Bach. And he played his standard opening set, and he just was amazing. I'll throw down for Sebastian. Him and his band, they were fucking incredible. Then after that, this was where things started really not making sense. The band after Sebastian Bach was Helmet.
Okay.
Helmet, that very aggressive.
Well, yeah, I like Helmet.
Yeah, very meat and potatoes, fucking just 90s sounding band. Which made no sense after following Sebastian Bach, who did make sense. Because it was late 80s, early 90s, you know, big arena rock, and then you have Helmet. I felt bad for Helmet. Because at one point they finished their set, and then somebody must have conferred with them because they had to go back out and play a couple more songs. And I'm just watching this going, these poor guys, this is not their crowd, and they've got to keep entertaining them. And that's when we all figured out that Axl was running late. Axl did not take the stage until midnight.
Of course.
Midnight. And the official explanation after...
Like, how many consecutive years are you going to fucking run that game?
Well...
You know, they did that in, like, 92 with Metallica. And...
Apparently he doesn't do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, so... At this point, the crowd, an Iowa working-class blue-collar crowd, is starting to chant Axl sucks at the stage. And somehow that's the hopes that that's going to get him on stage. But yeah, that's how pissed we all were. And I wasn't chanting, by the way.
Well, rightfully so. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You spend your hard-earned money on a fucking concert ticket. Well, the very least they could do is show up to play the show.
Well, and I wrote a review of that show years later, back when MySpace was the thing. We had blogs. That was called Axl's World. And I remember saying, I can only describe the show in one word. Anticlimactic. And it was because you had waited so damn long, years, in my case, to see this guy. And then hour after hour after hour after that to where people were starting to leave. He played to a half-empty venue. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, lights dim. You know where the fuck you are? Yeah, I'm in Ames. Where the hell are you? But here's the goddamn thing. Once he got on stage, the only thing I remember him saying to the crowd was trying to be funny and quoting David Lee Roth. Yeah, I know I'm a little late, but to quote David Lee Roth, I don't feel tardy. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of laughter after he said that. Mm-hmm. But here's the goddamn thing. It was fucking brilliant. He was spot on vocally. He was doing all the weird Axl snake dances and the hopping on one foot. Just all of his stage moves were there. The only different thing was he had those cornrows pulled back in a ponytail. That was back when he was still doing that. But it was just like, I was torn. On one hand, I'm going, holy shit, I'm seeing Axl. He's right here. I've been waiting for this since I was fucking 10 years old, and he sounds incredible. There wasn't one bum note out of him. He sounded fucking amazing. But I'm sitting there thinking, it's 3 a.m, and I had to work all day, and I've still got to drive 2 hours home. What is your fucking problem? Yeah, that's why I said it was anticlimactic, you know. When he was on stage, it was just unbelievable. The guy fucking was amazing. But made everybody wait so goddamn long, you almost didn't even want to see it after that.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I can say was kind of the equivalent of meeting up with just this gorgeous chick for drinks or whatever, knowing that you're wanting to get laid at the end of the night, but she won't shut up and keeps talking until about 5 a.m. You're so drunk and tired you just want to pass out, and then she wants to get down. And sure, the sex is amazing, but you can't even really remember that so much as you can remember everything you had to go through to get to it. And was it worth the wait? And with Axl, much like any good late, yeah, it was worth the wait, but I haven't forgot how tired I was waiting to get to it. Follow that.
Yeah, Axl, follow that.
Well, as it turns out, I guess when the Not in This Lifetime tour was planned out and announced and everything else, it was written into his contract. Finally, the tables turned. It was written into his contract. You will not be late for any of these shows. And he hasn't been late for any of them.
Well, that's good. Let's talk about how big of a disappointment Chinese Democracy was.
Can we go to the spaghetti incident first?
Absolutely.
All right.
Go right on ahead. Talk about the spaghetti incident. What is the spaghetti incident?
Well, I'll tell you. All right, so we went over Appetite, we went over Lies. Yeah, the acoustic songs are great. Yeah, 1 in a Million. You know what? Here's how I feel about 1 in a Million. We got to touch on this.
Expletive deleted.
Well, this is how I see it. On one hand, as a fan, I really wish they hadn't taken that song off the future pressings because, you know what?
I don't think they even did.
Well, they did with the vinyl reissue, with the Appetite reissue.
Did they?
The box set, yeah.
Because the, like I said, the digital one I listened to, it was on there.
Okay, but I know with the reissues, they've taken it off. And part of me could see why. I mean, my God, you know, there's no getting around how fucking offensive it is. But on one hand, I'm sitting here thinking, you know what, this was part of your history. Fucking, why are you trying to pretend it didn't happen? But on the other hand, Chad, if I had recorded that song, I would probably want the world to forget about it too. I probably would have at the time said, well, you know what, they put a disclaimer on the album. They explained what this was. But at the same time, if there's a recording of me in a song screaming N-word, 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 and F-word, 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 I don't know that I'd want to hear that ever again either. I don't know that they necessarily did it to placate the PC culture or the quote-unquote cancel culture. I think more than anything, it was kind of embarrassment. It's like, yeah, I did this, but I don't want to hear this ever again. Is how I feel about that.
Yeah.
All right, so we covered that. All right, so Use Your Illusion, we're not going to cover right now, but Spaghetti Incident. We were talking about life-changing albums, and believe it or not, that was one for me because that was the album that introduced me to this wonderful thing I was unfamiliar with in North Iowa called punk rock. So it got me to explore punk rock, and I loved it. I was listening to it on the way over here. But the only disappointment I have with that album is they covered a Nazareth song on there. Now, Axl is a massive Nazareth fan. He wanted Dan McCafferty, their singer, to sing Love Hurts at his wedding. Manny Charlton, the guitar player, produced some Guns N' Roses demos. So Axl, being this huge Nazareth fan, wanted to cover Hair of the Dog, the song that everyone knows, the song that has been covered. He couldn't dive any deeper into that album and find a song like Miss Misery, or fucking even go any further back than that and cover fucking Razzmatazz or whatever the hell. No, this huge Nazareth fan, and he covers their most well-known song. I don't know, that's like us being Metallica fans and saying, hey, let's cover Enter Sandman. Jesus, you have this whole catalog. That bothered me about that, because I'm a Nazareth fan, and even I'm thinking, come on, Axl, you couldn't have found another song. That bothered me. Go on.
So, the hidden track was a Charles Manson song.
What's your game, girl? And that's the other thing too, is they got in a world of shit for that, right?
Yeah, they never ended up taking that off any pressing, and they were gonna put like all the proceeds to
Sharon Tate's family,
and then one of the other victims.
Well, see, and I thought they did take that off. That's why I've still got the CD copy that I do.
I don't think that it is. I don't think they ever did.
But here's the thing about it, is that song itself was never listed. It wasn't tracked.
Right. I mean, it's still there. It's just not listed.
Yep, exactly. And nobody would even have known about it, except that, you know, some hell was raised about it. But if you listen to that song, you would not know that that's a song written by a fucking insane person. It's a good song. But then again, that's how kind of off the deep end Axl was starting to go at that time. He's wearing Charles Manson shirts on stage, which Phil Anselmo would do years later. And then he covers a fucking Charlie Manson song. It's like, you gotta know that's not gonna be a good look.
Well, that goes back to that punk rock attitude.
Right, and that's where the punks in the 70s were in swastikas. You think, now, what the fuck are you thinking?
Yeah.
Why? To get a reaction? Well, that's what Charles Manson was.
Right.
You know, and Anselmo, he was even more open about it than Axl was. You know, he wore the Helter Skelter shirt that not only had Charlie's picture on it, but the other serial killers.
Right.
And then when they'd ask him, I'd say, oh, live your life like Charles Manson, just don't make the same mistakes. Or they just call me Manson without the murder because I had my harem. I mean, he made no apologies about it.
Yeah.
But that's where you kind of start to see where there's a danger to Guns N' Roses, and then there's an unacceptable danger. And I think the Charles Manson shirt was probably where they crossed that, really.
Yeah, perhaps.
What else you got? You're reading notes, so I see.
I don't know. I'm trying to find something to talk about.
Keep up with this musical anthropologist.
Yeah.
Fucking rabbit hole. All right, so I covered my feelings on Spaghetti Incident. My introduction to punk rock, so it changed my life in that regard.
Yeah, that's so weird. Like, that's not my introduction to punk rock, and I could not even tell you what my introduction to punk rock was.
Well, seeing you benefit from having been a few years younger than I am in that punk rock, by the time you would have been aware of it, when I became aware of it, Green Day wasn't a thing. The Offspring wasn't a thing. But when they came around, oh God, I loved it right away. And that's because I had been primed by the Spaghetti Incident.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I couldn't even tell you. I could not even begin to speculate when I realized what punk rock was.
Well, and you wouldn't have embraced it the way I did.
Probably not.
Well, the reason for that is because you can actually play an instrument.
Well, that's fine.
For me, it was like, holy shit, I can play 3 chords. This is fucking great.
Oh, you know what? I think I can narrow it down just a little bit.
All right.
I would have been in high school, and, like, I'm very, very much metalhead.
Sure.
There was a guy I knew that was like, hey, check out this, these punk bands or something like that.
Pennywise one of them by chance?
Pennywise was one, but not from this particular guy.
Okay.
So, like, I went to high school in Illinois and here.
Oh, okay. All right.
So when I was in Illinois, I was in band. I tried to be in as many bands as I could be in, whoever would have me.
Hey,
And, those days, the late 90s, like, you would just be in a band just to be in a band.
Right.
And the group of guys I was playing with, it was like the bass player really loved, like, MXPX.
Oh, my God, MXPX.
And
they were like a Christian band.
Yeah, and like Lagwagon. And he's the one who turned me on to Pennywise.
I can't believe you just said Lagwagon. I didn't think anybody ever heard of that band.
This guy. So he liked a lot of that kind of punk, that pop punk. I believe that was even the first time I heard of Blink-182 before they were popular.
And that's the weird thing is when you just mentioned the thing pop punk. That's where I got lost, actually, because it was MXPX that really did it. They sounded like a fucking soda shop doo-wop group, and that wasn't enough aggression for me.
You don't like Chick Magnet?
Not as such. No, I hated the overly happy
It was like
shit.
that. So, like, what was it, SoCal or NorCal? I don't know. They were very Californian.
But I hated that kind of stuff because I was an aggressive
I
teenager.
also hated that.
It just pissed me off. It's like, why are you infecting something like this with your bullshit?
Yeah. But I liked Pennywise.
Now, Pennywise to me was not happy.
Yeah.
Doo-wop song shit. Pennywise, the album Unknown Road, I still love. And it was actually a kid from California, I can't remember which part, who came to our school. And fucking after a few years of him being there, we got to talk about punk, which to me was a whole new thing. And he's like, hey, I got a couple of good bands for you. He gives me Pennywise, Unknown Road, and then The Offspring's album Before Smash. called Ignition.
Yeah.
He's like, that's punk. This is what I
Yeah,
listen
yeah.
to.
So the same guy introduced me to The Offspring also.
And The Offspring, their first Ignition, I think, is great. But you could see that they kind of wanted to be popular or whatever.
Yeah, they had like hooks.
Yeah, and you know what? And that's where I say, ain't a fucking thing wrong with hooks.
Yeah, to a certain degree, I suppose.
I'm gonna say we've had this discussion, but all right. So let's get back to guns here. All right. So Spaghetti Incident, I've already lionized that, and I'll listen to it on the way home. But Chinese Democracy.
That was the biggest letdown of my life, I think.
Tell me about when you first heard it, because I've got a story for mine.
When did I may have even just bought this fucking record. I can't even remember.
Mm-hmm.
So I think so the thing that sticks out in my mind is it was a Best Buy exclusive.
Yes. Yep. Sure
And
was.
even then it was in the under $10 bin,
What?
I believe.
Did you buy the day it came out?
I can't remember if it was the day or week, but it was like I scooped it up right away.
You're right.
And it was under $10.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say I think I know I did because I have the CD. I have the Digipack CD,
Yeah.
And that was like a Best Buy exclusive.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was like, this is bullshit fucking garbage.
All right.
There's like 3 songs on here that I would even admit to liking. And you can for me, you can tell right away, this ain't Slash.
Right. Right.
This is not Guns N' Roses. That's Axl, but this is not Guns N' Roses.
You summed it up better in those words than anybody else ever could.
Well,
This is
so
not Guns N' Roses.
so anyway, in the meantime, before that, I had Slash's Snake Pit.
Right. Because you were burning me those CDs. Like, dude, you
Yeah.
gotta check this out.
I had It's 5 o'clock somewhere,
I
and
never
then
listened
whatever the next one was.
Ain't Life Grand.
Yeah, Ain't Life Grand, and those were fucking good.
Yeah.
Because that was what mid 95, 96
Snake
for
Pit was 95. Ain't Life Grand was actually 2000.
right,
So
and
there
those
was
were
a bit of a lag there.
yeah, but still, those were that was as close to Guns as you're gonna get.
Right, and that's where, 5 o'clock somewhere, funny you say that, were demos he had started writing for what was supposed to be the next Guns N' Roses album.
Well, yeah, I've heard that. It could have passed as a Guns N' Roses record.
But no, I tell you what, my introduction to Chinese Democracy, that day was an event. Like, I've never really experienced before, because it harkened me back to when you knew the release date of an album by your favorite band. Like when Pantera's last album came out, I knew the day. I took a half day off work to get it.
I bought that the day it came out.
Yes, and that's what this album was to me, because I was still remembering when I was 10 years old, fucking being so into this band, and it's like, okay, I've heard leaked things or whatever, but it's still Guns N' Roses putting out a new album after all this time, so it was an event for me. Fucking, I even bought a couple of minis of Jack Daniels, which I don't drink, and we drank tonight for this occasion. I bought some Jack Daniels. I'm like, okay, I'm going to drink some Jack Daniels. I'm going to listen to this album. I went to Best Buy and bought it on vinyl. Hell yeah, I did. And that was going to be the thing. Me and, what's her name? We're going to sit and listen to Chinese Democracy.
What's her name? Yeah, I don't know.
But no. Now keep in mind that she was also very much Guns N' Roses was kind of the thing we had in common, but she was also a fan of Baz Luhrmann films like Romeo and Juliet, Moulin Rouge.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Lavish Broadway musicals, things like that, But also a fan of Guns N' Roses and just the 80s metal, rock, whatever. But anyway, so we sat down, put the thing on the turntable, poured my drink. I'm going, all right, it's a double album. That's weird. There's no pictures of him, but whatever. These production credits are insane. What the fuck? All right, the music. Whereas you say you have 3 or 4 songs that you would admit to liking, I have one. And it's the title cut. Only because it's the closest thing to a riff that happens on that album.
Yeah.
So you start off like that. And at this point, listen to the album. My ex is coming up with more witty banter than I am. She's got seemingly a smartass remark for every song. Like, if the world, oh, this sounds like a James Bond song. And I could kind of see it. It starts off with that flamenco sounding. And then, yeah, the world. It's like, holy shit, she's right. This does sound like a James Bond song. And then there was the song that Sebastian Bach did backing vocals on. Sorry. I spent a year trying to hear his voice in it, and I couldn't. It was like buried. But
you're gonna. Do I even have a CD player? I'm gonna dig this out and listen to it. Chinese Democracy.
Yeah, I can't even do that. I gave my copy to my stepson.
Yeah.
But no.
But like I said, my CD collection's in my basement, covered in dust.
But no, this one, this final observation, then we'll continue. But no, her having the witty banter or whatever, she had a couple of other smart-ass remarks. I don't remember them, but after the album was done, after we put in the time to listen to this double album, we both didn't even look exhausted, just like apathetic. And she looks at me and says, well, I asked her, so, well, what did you think? She says, it sounds like bad Broadway show tunes.
Yeah.
I said, what, the whole album? She goes, yeah, the whole album. And you know what? She was not wrong. And that's the only way I can sum it up. It was Axl wanting to write Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, being an Elton John fan, having this ambition, this time, and this isolation, and that's what we all got.
I'm looking in my notes to see when this was released because I don't even remember.
2008, late 2008. In fact, you want to hear another fun fact?
Sure.
Do you remember the publicity stunt where Dr. Pepper, as a joke, said if Axl releases this album before such and such date, everyone in the country gets a free Dr. Pepper?
What's funny is as you said that, I'm reading that right now in my notes.
And you know what? I have?
And I remember that, yeah.
And you know what I have in my possession?
What's that?
A bookmark in the Duff McKagan book I'm reading that is a coupon from that.
Oh, sweet.
Yep. As soon as midnight hit, I got online and spent like an hour just trying to get onto this website, but then put my name in there. And I still have the fucking coupon. You know what the coupon says? The doctor delivers his promise. Remember to drink it slowly. Yeah, I still have that.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that is a thing that actually did happen.
I forgot all about that, but now that you mention it, yeah. Oh, that's crazy.
Fucking great. All right, I gotta step aside real quick, dude. If you got any good notes at all.
All right, I know we've been avoiding this, but let's do our what'd you listen to this week?
This week, God, I almost have to go to this month or whatever. Diving down the old school rabbit hole as I do. I really got into Queen. And primarily their first album, which is just unbelievable.
Yeah. I wish I could have as sophisticated of choice as you. So
if it makes you feel any better, I listened to a hell of a lot of Van Halen and Sleep this week, too.
Yeah, but that's kind of like, that's like a regular thing.
It very much is.
So, you're like this one.
Yeah.
So I had to do like a menial task at work. And I needed to listen to music because I don't think I would have completed it without it.
Fair enough.
So this is what I did. I put in Korn Follow the Leader, and I listened to it all the way through.
Why would you do that to yourself?
Because sometimes I need to remember what 1998 was like.
I don't.
Yeah. So I was listening to it, and aside from the hits off that record, there was some stuff that was like... forgive me, it wasn't good, but it was like
tolerable.
That was a cool riff, you know.
Okay, so potential, man.
Yeah,
all right.
It was, and like listening to it now with all this time that has passed,
right?
They had some really unique stuff.
They did, and I hate admitting it, but yes, they did.
They had some really unique stuff that they should have kept doing, and they really didn't.
No. Because you got to keep the money machine rolling, you know.
Yeah,
and
because what came out after Follow the Leader, Issues.
I would say I'm not even familiar anymore after Follow the Leader.
Yeah, I'm not either because I was never a big Korn fan to begin with,
and that's exactly why.
But I listened to that and I was like, well, you know, that was cool,
right?
But it was just a really weird trip back to 1998.
God, if I was to go back to 98, I don't want to go back to 98, but no, I know what you're talking about. We've discussed this where, Korn Follow the Leader came out and all this, but you had bands like Buck Cherry that were waiting to happen and everything else. And at first I thought that was great, and then I really grew to hate that too.
Yeah.
But, all right, so we were talking about Chinese democracy and...
Well, wait, I'm not quite finished here.
Oh, you're still on?
Well, like I said, I mentioned earlier that I listened to Mammoth.
Oh, right.
And that was okay. So Greta Van Fleet has a new single out called Broken Bells.
And what do you think that is?
Oh, man, what a good Led Zeppelin song that is.
So they've really not progressed.
I mean, they have. It's good. Don't let me make it sound like it's a pile of shit.
Sure.
But it's so good. But once the dude starts singing, it's like, hey,
that voice.
Just can you do something other than a Robert Plant?
And I'm glad you said that, because I remember the last time when we were talking about them, and a point that I've made with several people is let him evolve, let him find his voice, and
he's just not.
Apparently he's not.
He's evolving into a really good Robert Plant cover guy.
Well, and think about this though, they are kids and they're being told what to do by somebody.
Yeah, somebody. I don't know, but it's good. It's good stuff.
Sure. And I believe that. And that's where I hope great things for them. I really do, because one of my favorite things that I found, of course, on the online fucking sludge factory was Adam Levine from Maroon 5 saying that I don't feel like there are bands anymore. Like he was one of the last bands. Was Maroon 5 even a fucking band anyway?
I'm sure to somebody.
The only thing I'm sure of when it comes to that band is their guitar player has this real nappy beard. And he didn't always have that. I should know because I used to polish his fucking guitar when I worked at the Hard Rock Cafe in Maui. But anyway.
So if you were to put a gun to my head and say name a Maroon 5 song, I would be dead.
You're a better man than I am, and I would have to live with that shame. But no, this guy grew a scraggly beard, and the only thing I'm sure of is that he grows that so that when they're on tour, he can have the scraggly beard, but as soon as they're off tour, he can shave and deny that he's in that band or even knows who they are.
Didn't that singer guy play with the remaining members of Queen or something?
Adam Levine?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he did or not. I just know that it's unfair that I've made him a villain, but you remember when we were years ago in Andromeda?
Maroon 5 sucks dick.
Yep. Which I stole blatantly from Zakk Wylde, Limp Bizkit sucks cock. But no, it was just... No, it's just that band. I just remember how much I hated them before, and every time I want to say, well, everyone's doing their thing or whatever. Fuck, my kid likes that goddamn song, Moves Like Jagger. Fine, whatever. But then he goes off and says, well, I feel like there aren't any bands anymore, that we were like one of the last bands. Are you fucking serious? Don't make me not like you again. You having a mohawk doesn't make me think you're cool. You having Sharpie-looking tattoos all over your torso doesn't make me think you're cool. Just sing because you have talent and stop talking. And then people won't still hate you.
Yes.
And clearly I have issues. But, all right, so any more that you listen to or bought?
No, that's pretty much what I listen to. I was going to do some news, but we always seem to talk about Corey Taylor, so I think I might just skip this one.
All right, go ahead. Come on. He's an Iowa boy. We got to throw down for the Iowa boys. What this week?
So the headline, I can't even remember the article, but the headline was something like, Corey Taylor lends his rap skills to outlaw country hip-hop duo Moonshine Bandits.
I believe I saw something to that effect. Is there anywhere to go with that?
Well, given that he came out with his solo stuff and it sucked balls, big ones.
We didn't care for it.
We did not care for it. Sorry, Corey Taylor, who has a lot of talent and is a very good musician. That was not good. But we can't win them all.
No, sir.
But
all right, so.
I don't know. I guess, like, I guess this band reached out to his wife,
Okay.
who I don't know if she's like a dancer or something, model/dancer for this band or some shit. I don't fucking know.
Right.
And then like, so they reached out through her to him, and they're like, "What version of Corey Taylor do you want on the record?"
Wait. He asked that? His wife.
Yeah, she or he asked, "What version of me
do you want?" Oh my! You know what? I'm half and half. On one hand, I'm glad you're versatile and that you have all these influences that you're not afraid to use and share with the world. But on the other hand, it just reminds me of Kid Rock, because does anybody even know who Kid Rock is? And at what point does that take away from the fact that you're a jack of all trades and master of none?
Is a jack off, that's for sure.
Yeah, you said it, pal, and that's fine. But
Hey, if Richie, whatever his fucking name
Ritchie.
is, but if Bob Ritchie wants to throw hands with me, that's fine, because we all know who's coming out on top of this one.
you guys go ahead. Just let me know where his cocaine stash is, because there's no way he's not on some good ball. And we'll have fun.
Not to toot my own horn, but I think I could fucking knock his bitch ass straight to the ground.
I just know that you can knock my sorry ass to the ground, and that's all the knowledge I need.
Anyway,
Jesus Christ.
I don't mean to pick a fight with Bob on the internet here.
With all 6 of the people that listen to us. Oh, incidentally, speaking of you 6 people, spread the word, please.
Yeah.
Share our links. Maybe buy some merch. It's pretty cool merch. Help us out. We'd love to keep doing this. If you want to keep hearing us, help us out.
Yeah, we could probably put a little more effort into it ourselves, but hey,
What effort? This is effort. We've gone through a bottle of Stoli and Jack. And
half a bottle.
Nevertheless, we make our effort. You're the one uploading and encrypting and all this bullshit. I don't make an effort. I show up and talk and leave.
Well, that's true.
And that's cool.
And that's fair.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. Anyway, so wrapping up, all right, Chinese Democracy we've established was not a bad album, but I think it was Nikki Sixx who said it best. Need to be careful with the brand name. Now, coming across from
It's such a shame that Guns N' Roses is a brand now.
Well, but they are, whether they like it or not. I think that's a lot of why Izzy quit.
Yeah.
Just they became bigger than what it was supposed to be. They are a brand. I mean, for God's sakes,
and the thing is that they are not one-hit wonders. Like
hell no.
Every member of that band has done something successful
let's
2 or 3 times over.
But let's examine that real quick then. All right, not one-hit wonders by any stretch, but possibly one album wonders. And now, as far as every one of them having done something successful or whatever, Slash has the name Slash that came off the back of Guns N' Roses. Duff has straightened his life out to insane degrees due to the opportunity given him by that album. Izzy does whatever the fuck he wants and doesn't have to give a shit, all due to the massive success of that album. Axl was able to ride and do his own vision, his own grandiose vision, whatever he wanted off the back of that album. And Steven Adler is still alive and isn't homeless off the back of that album.
Yes, that's true, but Slash and Duff have worked together on not only Guns N' Roses, but Velvet Revolver.
Right, and I love Velvet Revolver, but would anybody have cared? I don't think they would have.
If it wasn't for Slash and if it wasn't for Scott Weiland.
And Scott Weiland, yeah.
I don't really think anyone would care.
No, and which is a shame because
But
that first album was fucking awesome.
But you also wouldn't have those riffs because it's fucking Slash playing guitar.
Right. And this is the thing that bothered. I remember talking about this with Scott, the Scott Weiland topic that came up. How, well, the second batch of songs sounded like they were tailor-made for me. There was still Slash in those riffs. These were not Stone Temple Pilots songs. No, these were Slash riffs that evolved a bit. But there was still the sleaze there,
Yeah.
Do It For The Kids is one of the best riffs. It's just simple, and it's Guns N' Roses, really. But here's the thing. Would we even be talking about them if it weren't for that album?
Well, of course not.
And that's where...
And things evolved the way they did, and that's
Sure.
fine.
Right. But that's where you start thinking, what is Guns N' Roses, and do we as fans have a bit of ownership in that?
I don't know. They're like a Kiss by this point.
Yeah, they are.
They've proven themselves to be, because they've replaced every fucking member except for Axl.
Right. And then when Not in This Lifetime happened, I remember, once again, hearkening back to my stepson. He got to go see that. And holy shit was he excited. Which of course he was. And I remember in some weird way, I had to kind of fake it. Where he told me he was going, dude, that's fucking great. Let me know how it goes. Then when he got back, I was like, how was the show and all this? But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, better you than me. Because I literally don't care. Because this to me is not Guns N' Roses. And this is not a big reunion. This is Axl, who's always been there. And 2 of the other 5 members. It's not Guns N' Roses. But now I'm thinking, okay, even if they somehow pulled it off and got Izzy and Steven together to make one album, would I give a shit even now? Probably not. Why? Because they're not 20 years old, homeless in LA. That's why. I think at a certain point, it's like, yeah, you got the songs and everything else, but that magic done disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Well, yeah, it did for Guns N' Roses, but like I said, everyone else was pretty successful.
They were successful, and you're damn right they were. That's great. But this big magic that everyone's holding on to with, well, number one, the Not in This Lifetime tour, which, great for those that finally got to see. I'm lucky. I've got to see Axl. I got to see Slash. I got to see Duff. I think that's great. But at this point, I don't know that I would even care anymore. I think the best one was, I was watching one of those Reels documentaries they had about Axl Rose last month. And they had, I think it was Alan Niven, one of their old managers, asked him his final thoughts on this, that, and the other. And he said in his British accent, people think that, Axl was just saving the best for whatever. I'm paraphrasing. No, you pissed away the best years of your life, and now where are you? It kind of feels that way.
Yeah. I don't know. No, I mean, I do know. Like, I saw some performances where it's like, hey, look, there's Mickey Mouse who ate Axl Rose.
Oh, God.
The Mickey Mouse voice.
Well, and even in a way, I can kind of feel for those guys, but at the same time, as, an audience member, as a fan, I'm wondering, is it really... I don't know how I feel about somebody who like Axl is almost 60 years old, screaming the lyrics of Out to Get Me. A fucking asset! I mean, is that convincing at this point in your life? I mean, if you think about somebody like Steven Tyler, who turned 72 this week, you could still sing about sex or whatever the hell, even in an abstract way, But there's not that absolute anger in your life anymore. Even Lemmy, for as old as he wasn't singing about angry things or people fucking him over. He was singing about rock and roll and World War II or whatever the hell, or gambling. Axl, when he wrote those lyrics, when they first laid him out, was a young, angry, fucking abused man. He's almost 60. Is it still convincing to see somebody who's knocking on 60 scream, a fucking asset? I mean, I don't know. There's a magic that's never going to be brought back. And that's okay, but I think it's unfortunate that people are still chasing it. And by people, I mean, the fans.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of reminds me of the Brian Posehn Metal Till I'm 60 bit that he does. I understand what you're trying to say. It's like, you're 60. What do you got to be angry about?
Exactly. And at that point, it's like, and even the 6-year-old anger man is the guy saying, get off of my lawn. It isn't the guy standing in front of 50,000 people talking about how angry he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I'm a big fan of heavy metal, but at what,
Sure.
at what point is it absurd?
That's exactly right, because of the age even we are, man. You know, I'm 41, you're knocking on that door. I mean, I still get off on the music, you know. I still will turn into a teenager if I get in my car and fucking Wasp is on the radio or something, which happened this week. But at what point is like, okay, this is kind of cool for me to relive it for 5 minutes in my car, or to be screaming it in front of 50,000 people about how pissed off I am.
Yeah, see, I'm angry, but I'm not that kind of angry anymore.
Right, there's different kinds of anger.
I'm old man angry.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I've fought it for fucking years, but you know, there's nothing wrong with that. And that's where I almost kind of feel bad for these guys, because this is their career. I could be 41 years old and weld, and nobody looks sideways at it. If you're 41 years old, screaming about panties around your knees with your ass in debris, you're kind of a gross old man at that point. What the hell are you doing? Which they never play that song live, by the way.
Probably because of that line.
Possibly, I would hope so. But yeah, that's where it's like, okay, they're almost kind of fucked in a way, because this is their career, you know. It's their job, like our jobs are our jobs.
Well,
they have to keep doing it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, the bread and butter band. Like, I love ZZ Top.
Sure.
And when we saw them play, it was like they just played the bread and butter songs.
Oh yeah, and that's where, I mean, for my part, I was half and half on that. Like, they damn well fucking better play "Give Me All Your Lovin'," you know. But at the same time,
so like, I thoroughly enjoyed every song they played.
Yeah,
because those are, you know those songs. But they could have also not played any of those songs, and I would have been 100% happy also.
Yep. And there's the other thing too that's interesting about them, is to where they're gamblers in that 99% of their set list is hits, but they're gonna throw in 3 or 4 off ones of their choosing. And that's where I get disappointed on a personal level, because I think I'm probably the only person on the planet that wants to hear Pan Am Highway Blues live at least once.
Yeah.
Knowing they never will. But it's like, I kind of want that. Or there could be somebody else in that crowd that's saying, God, I'd love to hear Heaven, Hell, or Houston, you know? And that's where ZZ Top pretty well pulls it off effectively, is they know what people want to hear, and you know what, the other 4 songs, hope you liked them, but if you don't, that's your problem.
Here's Legs.
Yeah.
Let's play Legs for you.
Yep, and really think about that, though, too. I mean, they are stuck playing those songs.
Yeah, but they've had the kind of career where it doesn't matter.
Right. And, you know, how much of a wellspring to draw from, and they're still burdened with the fact that, okay, 99% of our set is hits.
Yeah.
We can't do shit about it. You have Chrissy Hynde bitching about having to play Brass in Pocket. That's one song. You know, imagine being fucking the Rolling Stones and knowing you had better play Start Me Up, or there's going to be a fucking riot. Well, that's kind of where Guns N' Roses is at. You know, as much as Axl has stated in interviews, I just want to bury appetite, he knows he can't. He knows he can't.
No, you can't.
You know, and you could be as punk rock and defiant, but you ain't that fucking... I mean, Kurt Cobain died before he ever had to go through that, but even he, a year into Teen Spirit, fucking hated playing it. Hated it. To where he'd fuck with crowds when he did. He'd play More Than a Feeling or something. But... yeah, and that was only a year into his fucking stardom. Yeah, the Boys and Guns, they gotta do this forever.
Which, it's not all that bad.
Exactly. I tell you what, I got a fucking job that most people wouldn't want, but I'm pretty damn happy every time I go in there because I've got a job.
Yeah, if my job was to fucking play Sweet Child of Mine every night, I think I'd be okay with that.
Exactly. But you also have to ask yourself, too, in that, you know, the band that we're in, we've talked about that before, where it's like, God, do we still want to be playing this?
Yeah. So, anyway, like, we've probably said all there is to say about what we can say for Guns N' Roses.
I think you're right.
So,
how do we end this, then?
The same way we always end it.
Any final thoughts on Guns?
My final thought is it's Appetite all the way for me. All the other albums had some good songs on it, and it's basically just fucking greatest hits filler.
Right.
But it's Appetite for me.
I think for me, if I'm going to give very long-winded final thoughts, Guns N' Roses was so much more than a band, so much more than music, so much more than anything. They really blew up beyond that for me personally because they were a life changer. They looked the way I wanted to look. They acted the way I wanted to act. It was all bad behavior, you know. But that never would have happened if they had sounded like fucking White Lion or Warrant or something. Nothing against those bands. I like those bands as well. But Guns also had the music. And it was the sum of all 5 parts. You had the scratchy fucking rhythm of Izzy. You had the searing leads of Slash. You had the bass that was unreal from Duff. You had the swing and the bounce that you're never going to get out of another drummer from Adler. And then you had just, I keep saying this word, but danger from Axl. Uncertainty. You didn't know what this guy was going to do, how he was going to act. All of that combined, the music, the image, the idea of it, was why that was all such a life changer for me. And it really is centralized around that one album. Because once you got into Use Your Illusions, they're talking about cameras and customs and court fees. I can't relate to that. It was real for Axl, and he was always honest, but I couldn't relate to that. So much of it was based on that, and that's why that album to this day and for decades later is going to be lionized. They were lightning in a bottle, and that will never happen again. But that's both their blessing and their curse. But in the end, one of the few people that I would love to meet in my lifetime would be Axl Rose. Just to shake, as cheesy as this is, just shake the guy's hand, tell him thank you, and you keep being you. I may not agree with all of it, but that doesn't fucking matter. You made good, and that's fucking amazing.
All right, quick plugs.
What do you got?
Buy our merchandise.
Please. Buy our merch, share our links.
Like us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Yes.
All the applicable. I'm not going to TikTok because I'm fucking old. And you don't need to have me acting like a clown for 20 seconds at a time.
They made entire shows about this. They're called To Catch a Predator. Stay off TikTok.
What? Anyway, so yeah, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I hang out there. I post funny stuff sometimes.
He does.
Josh is antisocial, but
I'm on Facebook. Come find me and bother me, and I'll pretend I don't care when I
whatever.
really do.
He can answer your questions on our Facebook page. One More Last Time podcast at facebook.com.
I would love that. All right. So
ask him his shoe size. Whatever. I don't care.
9.5.
So
all right, Captain Succinct, you gonna wrap this up?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm drawing a blank here. Like me, please.
Jesus, man. All right, so now I'll finish. All right, this is
Chadwick Von Tippitt.
Joshua 40 the Hard Way Lee Johnson.
For one more
Last time, Asta.